Yeah. Yes, sir. It's your boy Dabrand knows, and we back. It's right about now, 8:03 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. And y'all know my motto: get up, get out, get something. Make it hot, make it move, make it groove, make it do what it do. Baby, got nothing to prove. Got a lot to lose, but then again, we back. You, my friend, here it is again. Cock deep, baby girl, we back in the plan. Big shout out to my boys 187 and Web.
What?
187 and Web.
What?
Shout out 187 and Web. I think they got it too. Huh? 40 Wolves, let's go get it. They pop. We go non-stop. From the bottom to the top. Baby, getting that guap. Let's go, let's get it, let's chant, let's dance, let's romance me. Baby girl, know it's your boy Cock D. Let's get it. 40 Wolves. This show is being sponsored by the AlexJonesStore.com. You can find the link in the description or somewhere on one of my pages. Hit the link, go to the store, cop some of that good old sea moss, and get yourself right. You heard? 50-something. Still feel like I'm 30. Let's get it, let's go. Spray Brando knows. And now that you know that your boy Dabrand knows, I'ma go ahead and start my show, people. Let's get into this.
From now on, I'm putting my foot down. They said I was done, but they ain't saying shit now. I be at them tables, breaking this bliss down, getting my residuals, moving like Chris Brown. I keep it original, you know how my shit sound. I'm way more mature, but I ain't put the blick down. They looking like, wow, this nigga say blick now? Not really, motherfucker, it just rhymes with Chris Brown. When I come around, they all gonna skip town like they owe me money, or tried to Obi-Wan me. Then I went Anakin, now they all panicking. You could be perfectly dressed, it won't make you a man again. You don't even smell the kind of shit that you standing in. Jumped out the window, don't know what you landed in. Cop blocking motherfuckers made me switch up the plan again. Okay, guess what? Nigga, I was built for this. I was born for this. They won't admit that they watch me like a porno flick. The rap game is a toilet. I be on some shit. I'm beyond your shit and all that other corny shit. Me in the game on some holy matrimony shit. This my anniversary, some Tony shit. Load the clip, do a spin. Grab my dick on some Michael Jackson shit. Nueve.
Nueve. Give it up for my boy, the OG non-spitter. For that butter-ass intro. You heard? Thank you, my brother. We gonna take that one to the top. Yeah, you heard? And you going with me. OG's non-spitter. Give it up once again. Alright, no more further delays. We're gonna get into the show. Cause I know that's why y'all came here to hear my mouth, running my mouth, talking about old non-spitters and Democrats ain't nothing. Y'all wanna hear from the horse's mouth. And I'm taking it out. No doubt. Let me see what it's all about. Come on.
App in the world. Go to AlexJonesApp.com and let the Democrat Deep State Party know that we will never be silenced.
tomorrow's news today.
Charles, how long have you known about Andrew and
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it takes a lot to shake me up because I have been studying the globalists for 40 years. I have been on air for 32. It'll be 32 in April. And I knew the globalists are super evil and bad. I understand their background and what makes them tick. We've got a lot of case point examples that gave us a really good analysis and approximation. But it's even worse than I thought. And now that we know this is only 3 million of the files, they got another 3 million held back. And the stuff they released is so incredibly, insanely evil and confirmed. And Todd Blanche is up there saying there's no evidence of anybody being abused, so we're moving on. And I have been spending, no exaggeration, 8, 9, 10 hours a day. I mean, I couldn't even sleep last night. And then it took me hours and hours this morning just to go through all the new stuff that is so totally insane. But I'm going to do my best to go over all this. But you have them openly because they thought they were invincible until, I mean, even after he'd first spent time in prison, he's just talking to many public figures that they didn't redact. A bunch are. We need to see who they have redacted, obviously, and why. Very suspicious. And they're just like, yeah, I got the sex slave at the Hyatt. Here's the financing for it. Yeah, I'm buying more babies. I had this little girl in the bed after we'd been, doing everything, and she was praying to Jesus, thinking Jesus was going to help her. Whoopsie, nobody's coming to help you, bitch. I mean, it's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and they're talking about drinking blood and the different types of flesh they're eating and taking literal adrenochrome from torturing children. They call it jerky, and mailing it to labs around the country. And that's what he was doing at Zorro Ranch. That's what he was doing at his island. It was at an industrial level, just like Peter Nygaard, which, if you listen to my show, which no one else ever said this or knew this, I've been telling you for 18 years on Epstein that's his deal. But it's all here. And here's what I'm blown away by. The corporate media is not touching it. Most of the left wing's not touching it because they just touched a few things that are connected to Trump. And then you just sit back and you realize the DOJ knows exactly what all this is. It's cut and dry. They don't even hide it in most of these conversations. The day he finds he's under criminal investigation, he orders basically an 18-wheeler load of sulfuric acid in drums. And that's for dissolving bodies, boys and girls. So, and then how they rape babies, how they play the voice of the mother while they rape the babies. I mean, you cannot, this is out of hell itself. And a lot of the stuff I'm reading, I go, wait a minute, Ted Gunderson said that. Ted Gunderson said that. Ted Gunderson said that. This is unbelievable. We're living a horror movie here. All right. I have never worked as hard as I have in the last 10, 11 days since this 3 million documents came out. I have been reading and double-checking and verifying about 5 hours a day. And then it takes hours and hours to go through it all. Then I call sources and talk to them about it. I check through it all. But I also have so much knowledge in all this that I'd already heard all of this from John DeCamp and Anthony Hilder and Ted Gunderson. Because I knew Gunderson wasn't lying, but still, it's like, come on. They starve babies to death, so they're starving. So then the men can put their genitals in their mouth and the baby sucks. I mean, I'm like, yeah, just come on. And then it's in the damn. He's talking to scientists and biologists about the best way to torture babies so they can give them a better. I mean, it's just it's like it's all over the place, and it's right there. And yeah, I got a sex slave at the Hyatt. The financing's there. It's yours. And it goes on, and then the chef they have at the island, who prepares the food in the laboratory and mails it around the world to world leaders, owns a restaurant called The Cannibal. And then they say, yeah, I'm walking up with the jerky. I'm walking up with it. We just landed more. And they're like, yeah, you gave us cold jerky. We want live. So they're eating kids live. And you're like, this doesn't sound real. Have you read the Bible? Or what mainline archaeologists have found? You know, they said that Plato was wrong and that Troy wasn't where he said it was on this island. And then they found out from earthquakes and stuff, it was just buried. And sure enough, there was the city just as he described it exactly. Yep, and they've basically found everything that was in the Bible now. And they got the Roman histories, the Jewish histories. You've got, if you study any culture from ancient China to Africa to Mesoamerica to Western Europe to the Middle East was like, whoa. It is nonstop devil worship, child rape, drinking children's blood. You know, the Druids would just slit the kid's throat and throw it into a peat bog to the gods, or burn up the toughest man they had, Wicker Man. You see that in movies, that's all real stuff they did. A little bit, still I'm not endorsing it, but it was stuff like that. And the Aztecs, cut kids' hearts out and other people. And then the priest class sold the meat down at the bottom of the market. The Aztecs were cannibals. And yeah, this is a reenactment they did, right after World War I, in Rome, where they had the World Jewish Conference meet, and they built this whole deal, and then they reinstated and reenacted Moloch worship and feeding children to Moloch or Baal. And Jeffrey Epstein listed all of his bank accounts and stuff like that. And this is Wicker Man right here, Burning Man, all that, where they lure the hero cop who thinks he's coming to save a little girl from being sacrificed, and it's actually him. So they did their research for this. And by the way, this stuff still goes on. They still, the Druids do all their Satanism big time in Germany and in the UK and in areas around the world. So it's all different satanic societies, but let's go back to the famous, and I can pull up the actual date and all of it. Pull back up the silent movie shot at the World Jewish Fair, and with the giant reenactment of a human sacrifice of children to Baal and Moloch. Yeah, this is all. And then they bring the kids and put them into the fiery furnace to it. There you go. So that's real footage, by the way, of a simulated murder of children. They do the same thing at Bohemian Grove, and they address it. Oh, that was good. I just spilt my ice water on my documents. I tell you, I am out of control, folks. Guys, do me a favor and bring me a bunch of napkins. I don't normally put my glass up on the table with my arms flailing. But there you go. So, again, this is the dominant culture. This is what these people are into. And it's every major culture. It's gone on everywhere. And it's the real deal. And it's got to be dealt with. We have to understand that just because we're not Satanists or just because we're not devil worshipers doesn't mean that it isn't a serious problem that has to be dealt with. You see, that's why they tell you, oh, there's no devil. That's why they tell you that there is no occult. Because they don't want you to understand that they're there and that this is their system, and that they see you as lower than whale crap in the ocean. That is their system. And so, You'll have to bear with me today. We can show you an overhead shot. I had a glass of ice water right here and had all these meticulously prepared stacks of each subject. And now it is soaked. But that'll be okay. They can pull up digital copies, or hopefully. I don't know how the crew's supposed to keep track of all this, because I just print it all off and then they scramble as fast as they can to find it. But that'll be okay. The point is that we have the background knowledge on all of this. I don't say that like, ooh, I'm smart, but I'm the well-known guy, the most prominent, the longest, continually exposing this and really getting into the worldwide networks and the historical background and all of it. We don't just focus on the devil worshiper occultists in the UK or the ones in Germany or the ones. No. We focus on it all over the world. And the former German chancellor wrote a book called Men in Power's Political Retrospective. And in it he says, yes, we do our rituals and sacrifices in our groves in Germany, but Helmut Schmidt, but my favorite place to do them is Bohemian Grove, and I've been going for 20 years or so. That's in my film, the book, the screenshots of it. You try to find that book, it's like $1,000 to even get it. We've somewhere around the office here, but and you can say, oh, well, they're just doing a mock-human sacrifice. They're not serious. I was there. And the old men that were watching it were just, here, cut to me. I'll show what they look like. Almost all of them are like, and it goes on for like an hour. And a few times like, wow, this is interesting. It's a very important ritual. And this is important ritual. We're talking demon town here, okay? So it's time for people to grow up and admit this is real. And we now know Jeffrey Epstein was a high priest. Jeffrey Epstein, we have his blackboard with all the black magic incantations and calculations on it. We now know he had tunnels all under his houses, Paris, in New York, in Zorro Ranch, and his own emails about all the tunnel systems underneath little St. John's. So that's where we are. That's what's happening in the year 2026. And I'm going to go through the latest stuff. And by the time I even check again, there'll be 100 more horrible things people found. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. I mean, there are hundreds of emails going through the decades of him picking up women at bus stops that are 14, and then they have a baby and he buys it, or the woman's in a laboratory and wakes up and she has a cesarean, the baby's gone, or he's openly selling and buying babies. And again, and they've got all these deliveries, rich people begging, it's all blacked out. I gotta have more. I gotta get a delivery of the jerky, please. And it's like, we can only get you 6 ounces. And it's like, oh, that should do it. God need it so bad. Please give me the jerky. Well, we got more jerky deliveries that just came in, but and then you got the really ultra rich billionaires bitching, I don't like cold jerky. I want it live. They're like, we got to come to the island to do that. We can't always put those events on in New York. We can't always butcher kids right there in the middle of the city. Come on. You want to get some blood on you and hear the screams yourself. You can, of course, drink the blood later with all the endorphins in it, but if you want to really be in the game, you got to come to the to Zorro. And that's the description. Stuff Gunnarsson never put on air, but I had dinner with him probably 10 times, talked to him on the phone probably 300 times, had him on that show probably 50 to 100 times, and he would just describe that. He says it's the women that are the worst. And it's just like you see in Dracula, where in the remake with Keanu Reeves, where Dracula likes the women, the aristocratic women, but the women drink the blood of babies. And then and so they kidnap kids and bring them babies, and the women all just come in on it. And that's a black mass or a black Sabbath. And those women they just start biting into those kids and just ripping their guts out, and just all their blood. Anyway, Steve Jobs' widow, she owns the Atlantic, and she's went to the island reportedly hundreds of times. She really loves it. Yeah, they're nice people. And so the Atlantic says none of this exists. There is no child trafficking, period, on the planet. Nice people, huh? And then, of course, they've planned the pandemics and how to release viruses and take control of us with those, with the total global control grid. We aired that report by John Bowne last night. And then they had a shadow 9/11 commissions where they could help cover it up, because this is a shadow government in corporations, universities, governments around the world. And then Epstein is one of the main liaisons for the CIA. And I'm not giving the Mossad an out. He's 100% Mossad. But the 5I level, MI6, Mossad, and the CIA are all interconnected. But Lex Wexner, the big money, the airline he ran, we now know it, starting for Bush, that brought in the Somalis and trafficked the kids, George Walker Bush, was Bill Barr. And then Bill Barr's dad was the famous OSS CIA that ran the girls' school that wrote the book about kidnapping little girls and torturing them and raping them in the 80s. So, I mean, you kind of get what I'm saying here, right? So that's what this is, and that's what's going on. And I got to tell you, if Ted Gunderson was alive today, I know he's looking down from the third heaven, but boy, I bet he's pleased, because it's finally safe to talk about this. I mean, I've always talked about it and let caution, to the wind. But now there's no putting the genie back in the old bottle. Okay? No putting the genie back in the bottle. The globalists are screwed. None of their tricks, flooding the zone with fake AI of abuse to confuse people. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And Epstein's going to now be 50 times bigger. And it was already, so it's game over for the globalists. It was already game over. They got a lot of tricks and a lot of crap they're pulling. But I will go through these documents, just the latest horrors. And I'm sorry to have to, I mean, even some of the crew yesterday was like really depressed after the show, but also happy it's coming out. And they're just like, because they're all in there looking at it too. They're on the government website. This is real stuff. I mean, you're like, these people really do this. He's got, top biologists giving him tips on how to rape babies better. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But when they have a, world fair and spend the equivalent of hundreds of millions of dollars to show you human sacrifice in Moloch, and how great it is. And when, Fritz Lang puts out Metropolis and they enslave all these humans and take their essence and feed them to Moloch and then feed that essence through a computer and through electricity like Frankenstein into a new being that's a kind of unisex creature, android, male and female, under a giant pentagram. So they're just showing you over and over and over again, this is what we do, this is who we are, this is what's happening. Okay? Over and over and over again. So everybody knows there's Christian churches and, everybody knows there's Buddhist temples. Well, when you look around at Hollywood and the halftime show and all the satanic stuff they do there, that's their church. And they're telling you, you're on the menu. You got that? So I never exaggerated. I never lied to you. I know it all sounded insane. I showed you so much proof. And because I was the most prominent person exposing this the most successfully, and because I was the most successful exposing 9/11, and because of all of that, I have been demonized and attacked, everything else. And they killed me and turned me into a martyr. So instead, they tried to kill who I was and created elaborate lies and said I was a bully of people, that had dead kids and just all this made up crap. But they failed in stealing my identity because the truth continued to get out. And so that's a testament to God and the strength of the truth long term. But I want to go to this John Bowne report dealing with the shadow 9/11 commission they had. See, not just running the COVID attack and setting it up, but also with Bill Gates, but also the 9/11. See, it's just, you find out he's trying to topple governments, trying to overthrow Russia. And then they spin it and say, oh, no, he's a Russian agent when all the documents are he's trying to overthrow Putin. So this is amazing, but I'll get into all the devil worship and new human trafficking stuff and all the draining the children of the blood, the jerky, the cannibalism, because they do it all. They're draining blood, but they're eating them live. I mean, it's quite the menu. This is just unbelievable, and God bless their little souls. And they're begging for Jesus, and they're laughing at him. I mean, you'll see it all. Jesus ain't gonna help you, little girl. Whoa, man, it was a hot place in hell for them. All right, let's go to John Bowles' report.
A single email unearthed from the sprawling Jeffrey Epstein document dumps has sent shockwaves through anyone paying attention. In 2003, investigative journalist Edward J. Epstein, no relation to Jeffrey, but a longtime chronicler of espionage, cover-ups, and institutional deceit, Edward Epstein reached out directly to Ghislaine Maxwell with the casual yet loaded invitation, "Any interest in joining a proposed shadow commission on 9/11? This wasn't some random outreach. The former Harvard professor was floating the idea of an alternative inquiry into the attacks, one presumably free from the constraints and compromises that plagued the official 9/11 commission.
What diminishes the idea of a conspiracy in my mind is not that one can't think of a good reason why one couldn't put a conspiracy together, but it's the passage of time. One has to take that into their reckoning as we covered, decade after decade.
Maxwell's inclusion on the invite list speaks volumes about the overlapping circles of power, influence, and potential blackmail that Epstein's operation allegedly cultivated. Why would a man known for dissecting government whitewashes think the partner of Jeffrey Epstein belonged on such a panel? The official 9/11 Commission report, released in 2004, has long been accused of being a carefully curated exercise in selective truth rather than unvarnished accountability. Glaring omissions like the collapse of the World Trade Center Building 7, ignored Saudi connections to the hijackers, eyewitness accounts of bombs by Barry Jennings in World Trade Center 7.
Yeah, Building 7. They said office fires brought it down, like papers burning and all that. Who believe that? Who believe papers burning brought down a skyscraper? We don't believe you, homie. Your lies.
Now, Barry Jennings, you were on the 8th floor. You work for the city housing department. Explain to me the moment of impact.
Well, me and Mr. Hess, the corporation counsel, were on the 23rd floor. I told him we got to get out of here. We started walking down the stairs. We made it to the 8th floor. Big explosion. Blew us back into the 8th floor. And I turned to Hess. I said, this is it. We're not going to make it out of here.
Entering Building 7 together before the strike on the South Tower at 9:03 a.m., Jennings and Hess were surprised to discover that the office had been abandoned. Receiving a phone call from his superior, Jennings was warned to leave the building immediately. Descending via the stairwell, Jennings and Hess reached the 6th floor before an explosion blew them back up to the 8th floor, trapping them inside the building. After 7 years of investigation, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, determined that the building had not come down due to explosives or controlled demolition, as many alleged, or due to structural damage from the collapse of the Twin Towers, an explosion in the building's fuel oil systems, or any of the other suggestions that had been put forward and retracted by NIST over the course of its investigation. Instead, NIST spokesman Shyam Sunder insisted that the building had collapsed due to ordinary office fires.
For the first time, we have shown that fire can induce a progressive collapse.
The commission's own co-chairman, Lee H. Hamilton, later admitted significant limitations, including restricted access to classified materials and pressure to produce a unified narrative that avoided rocking too many boats in Washington, D.C.
If it's an act of war and it's hiding things, which everyone on your commission knew that the Pentagon was changing their stories, lying to you, and it's a cover-up of an act of war, and under Article 3, Section 3 of the Constitution, it's treason. So unless we get to the very bottom of it, we're still talking a treasonous exposition.
This is a longer conversation. I'm not sure this would ever get to the bottom of it.
We have to, or we can't save our country, sir.
I don't think. Well, if that's the condition upon which we're going to be saving our country. Because the problem, it's a 30-year-old conspiracy.
The report's focus on systematic issues conveniently sidestepped naming names like Larry Silverstein.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull. And then we watched the building collapse.
And the rapid removal of debris before thorough forensic analysis could take place.
I'm also told that military heavy equipment will be brought in, bulldozers, cranes, things of that nature, to go in there as soon as they possibly can.
What ties these threads together is the persistent whisper that 9/11's full story remains buried beneath layers of classified documents, redacted files, and an elite code of silence. Why would the Epstein-Maxwell orbit be included? And if there truly was such a secret commission, insiders to shape public narratives around the attacks or their aftermath. Edward J. Epstein's 2003 email to Maxwell isn't just a footnote, it's a breadcrumb in a larger maze suggesting that even alternative inquiries were being quietly seeded within compromised circles. John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
Well, no, it was a CIA, Mossad, MI6 blackmail groups so they could profit off the primary attack. We'll be right back. One of the most important things to me in my life is to get things right and to tell the truth and to be accurate. That's why they say Alex Jones is right. But it's not just our news, our prediction, or information that are incredibly accurate. It's the products. And out of all the amazing supplements at thealexjonestore.com, our methylene blue, ultra methylene blue, is the best you're going to find on the market. It's so good for your body. Instant, clean, amazing energy. You owe it to yourself, if you sat on the fence, to go to thealexjonestore.com right now and get ultra methylene blue. And believe me, you are going to want to reorder it again. We have an 84% reorder on that product. No other supplement anywhere has anything even close. That is how amazing it is. Secure your ultra methylene blue now at thealexjonestore.com, and thanks for keeping us on the air. Repeat what you said's happening. You feel in the...
I feel like that stuff in my fingers. I feel tingling fingers.
There's the camera. Blast them with full power right there. Yeah! Energy shots have been all the rage for decades because they really work. But most of them are full of dyes and toxic stimulants and have huge crashes. We set out to develop a product at thealexjonestore.com that has all the very best adaptogens, nootropics to biohack your body and not just help your brain, but every cell in your entire body. We've done it, ladies and gentlemen. Mind Fuel is next level with no letdown, no crash. It is very strong, so I take half the shot in the morning, half in the afternoon, and it's just amazing. And again, the effects go on for days and days and days because these are super nutrients that are in Mind Fuel. For the time I have here, I can't tell you all the incredible ingredients. So go to thealexjonestore.com and look at what is in it, and of course, proprietary herbal ingredients as well. Go now to thealexjonestore.com and secure your Mind Fuel and be the reason we'll always be on the air. Thank you so much for your support. If you love our other products, you're going to love Mind Fuel. All right, throughout history, every brutal system, government, empire, cult, tribe will have rites of passage for the different layers of their society to prove their fealty. And the most common was, from time to time, or sometimes all the time, mass human sacrifice of your children. And that meant the priest class also raping your children. Because if a population will put up with that as a litmus test, they'll put up with anything. Then you also have military classes throughout history who will be tested as they're more elite on how brutal they are, what insane orders will they follow, are they willing to kill men, women, and children. The SS, in their final year of training before they got accepted, would have to raise a German Shepherd puppy, and then they would have to kill it at 1 year of age with their bare hands, strangle it. And that's about following orders. That's just a little example. Most of you probably never thought about having to strangle a dog as an initiation. Well, that's on record. So there's all sorts of these initiations. MS-13 is you got to human sacrifice somebody. That's on record. They do it all the time. Just gets buried in the news. And the initiations get crazier and crazier. 30 years ago, most of the big cartels didn't have Satanism involved. Now most of them do. And most of them do Satanism. And now they kill women and kids. None of those groups would kill women and kids until the 90s. That's why they spent 10 years writing Scarface with same guy that made JFK, Oliver Stone. And he did interviews about it. I watched the director cut where he talked about it. He went and met with cartel leaders, tried it, and it was like the no women, no kids thing. Kind of a composite of real people he met and stuff. Well, it's women and kids now, isn't it? So it's all about, will you kill women and children? Will you do anything we say? Will you give up your humanity? And then it's about, will you sterilize your son to be trendy, cut his penis off? Will you cut your daughter's breast off? Will you do insane things? Will you agree there's no X and Y chromosomes? Will you put men in women's prisons? Will you let Evergreen College 6-7 years ago say no whites allowed on the weekend? And that was incredible then. Now that's all over the country and all over the world. You see, it's all about how much insane crap can they get you to do. In 1984, which is a composite future projection by George Orwell, real name Eric Blair, came from a very high-level intellectual family, the highest levels of the intelligentsia scientific eugenics movement. They weren't so much wealthy, they had been previously, but they were in the elite thinkers. He was the head of OSS propaganda at the BBC in World War II. That's declassified. Eric Blair. And he was a top Fabian socialist, number 2 Fabian socialist, which is the elite of the elite globalist, okay? Proto-globalist then. And he wrote a bunch of essays explaining, before he died, because he died about a year after 1984 came out, he said, no, this is what I think the world will be like if the Fabian socialists control things. They're basically Satanists. They're all about power. They're all about destroying the human mind. They're all about seeing what you can get people to do against God's programming. Well, I mean, here's Jeffrey Epstein with top biologists and behavioral psychologists on how to, okay, well, you starve babies so they give you better fellatio because they're sucking on your, male member to try to get milk desperately. That would know what you need to know is you need to have a recording of its mother talking to it. It'll suck more vigorously. And you're like, what is, only Satan could come up with that. And I'm going to show you that stuff. But the point is that that's what Satan's all about. Distorting things. You got a starving baby. They're going to rape it and kill it later and suck its blood out and sell it. But they're going to, enjoy themselves now with the satanic thrill. And you can then record its mother and then make it think it's getting love even harder, fighting for its life in a big sick joke. That's Satan. That is Satan right there. Convincing you, parents, that turning at birth in New Jersey and Washington State and a bunch of other states, they have dozens and dozens of people in the state, 16, 20, oh, you're gender queer, you're two-spirited, you're bisexual, you're trans. And first it's, let the child decide and take their innocence away when they're not even of age to say something like that. First, let them be who they are and cut them out from the parents and brainwash them. Now it's just, we decide at birth what you're going to be, even though it's all a lie. It's the most satanic, twisted evil hiding in plain view. Canada said last year, the state will now decide whether to kill you or not. That's not even euthanasia. The doctors rebelled finally, and they went, okay, we'll bring it back in 2027, though they never got rid of it. Now, every day I see this woman beg for her life. She was healthy, but the state killed her because she'd become a ward of the state. That's what it is to live under communal systems. And that's what they would do with a lot of Native American tribes, Germanic tribes, African tribes, Mesoamerican tribes, Asian. It's all the same. When famine came, and that's when human sacrifice really cranked up, and every time they see that, they can study the archaeology, the tree rings, they study the ice core samples, and they can know, there was a big 10-year drought here, and we see the population go way down, and then we find all these mass pits of people that have been cut up and then eaten. So they would just ritualize cannibalism. So this is a custom that humans have had. It's like a jet airplane crashes in the Andes with 200 people on board, and they're stuck up there for 4 months, and When the rescuers finally find it and get there, they're like, yeah, we ate first the dead, and then we would just eat the people that were sick. And then we would all vote on who we're going to kill next. And that's how it works, folks. And that's why they teach a game called Spaceship or Lifeboat since the 60s in public schools and in private schools, where they get you into a situational ethic thing where we're on a spaceship going to Mars. And on the mission, there was an explosion, and part of the oxygen supply and food supply that was in the spacecraft was damaged and destroyed. So now there's only enough food for half of us, enough oxygen. So we'll all die if we don't do this. They're teaching them end justifies the means. They can always give you a false end for your means. See, that's how that works. And then in almost every case, they're able to train children. They should do it in about 5th or 6th grade. The majority will end up saying, okay, well, who do we kill then? Who do we put out the airlock, or who do we throw overboard? And they'll say, well, we need scientists, and we need social workers, and we need, oh, well, what are you? Well, we don't really need a librarian. We don't really need because when we get to Mars, we've got to set things up, or when we get to the deserted island. I mean, so it teaches you who is essential. Where did we hear that? Here in the big tabletop brainwashing exercise for future carbon lockdowns, they told us. It's not even my guess. They admit it. I was able to predict they'd do it before they did it because they said what they would do before they did it. But now you see it's all a big drill. Bill Gates telling thousands of teachers, 15 years ago, well, we could hire 10 more teachers or give you all raises, but we'd have to kill all the old people to do that. As if it's a set size pie. As if it's a zero-sum game, not expansionist. And once you introduce that idea, that is the super ancient system of humans not just preying on the local deer and rabbits and antelope and fish and hunter-gathering and learning to grow food, agrarian, but the biggest crop has always been ourselves. And we know men are designed, as in any mammal species, to be the defenders, and we're designed to be, expendable. And they take that idea and they twist it, and they invert it and take it down to children. So no one else is explaining this, okay? This is the psychology, the sociology, the anthropology, the archaeology, the behavioral psychology, the biology, the future integrated biology. And now when you look at everything they're doing, you understand it's about making you weak, dumbing you down, isolating you so you can be phased out and gotten rid of, because the decision has been made not just to depopulate, but that humans are a bad species to begin with and are a boot system to launch the new biological/synthetic silicon Ubermenschen. And that's the official plan of the heads of Google and all of them. They've said it all publicly. Musk has argued with them and said he's against them. You can decide whether that's true or not. But this is the real debate. So you don't get into their clubs unless you successively prove yourself to be a dehumanizer, to prove yourself that, and they sell it like, oh, you're the elite, you're willing to make the hard decisions, you're a superior person in whatever permutation it is, the Fabian socialists or the Nazis or the communists or the transgender movement or all of it. Or we're the feminists, we got to do this for the women. It's about destroying the women, which is the main engine and the center of the mammalian operation. So all of it's targeting who we are. And of course, it's not to empower us. It's admitted in their more esoteric documents and more secret documents, but also in a lot of public ones now. They're so arrogant that no, humans are scum. We're just to teach the AI. And there's a competition in their system through, well, it would be a biological future ascendance or a silicon or a cyborg merger. Tends to be the consensus is what it's going to be. And then, of course, I've explained to these people for a long time, and they already know it, You guys are just going to keep killing each other. If they tell their acolytes, oh, you're top of your class, you're smart, there's too many people, they're too dumb, they're breeding idiocracy, which is true at a level, but they grease the skids for it. And they're the smartest, actually, for being poison destroyed. But they tell the lower levels of the cult, we're just going to reduce 90%. And you get into their more restricted documents, well, reduce down to 1%. Well, actually, we're getting rid of all the humans. See, oh, get rid of these people, you'll get more resources. And then get rid of these people, you'll get more resources. Get rid of these people, you'll get more resources. They're cutting us out from each other. They're dividing and conquering us. And what does the Bible say? There's an ancient entity that once served our Creator, who knows we have a great destiny made in the image of God, able to build and envision anything we want at scale with enough time, and it's exponential towards our singularity, merging finally with God. We're not God, we're not becoming God, rising up to a level to be able to interface with God, but still have free will. And so notice, they're telling you, oh, no, we're all just bypassing all of that. We don't believe in God. We're going to become gods. But then you look at them, they're the most depressed, unhappy, destructive, degenerate, confused, scared people there are. I know a lot of people, and they say, Larry Fink, all of these globalists, the King of England, all of them are they're full of nightmares, pain, they're scared. All of them. Lady Gaga gets attacked by demons every night. She's obviously involved in a lot of this stuff. They're all just miserable nobodies who don't have any real strength, any real power. They go out and hurt children. They go out and rob people. They go out and run financial scams. They go out and lie, because that's what a God does. A God's willing to assert its power. It's social Darwinism. And really, they're just destroying themselves. They've been tricked to believe they've joined some plan to ascend, but like Faust, they find out it's the ultimate trap. They've given up, that they already had the golden ticket, made the image of God, able to envision and build anything that we want, but it's got to be within God's parameters because he's perfect. You see, you either go with God's plan because it's perfect, and it's so complex and beautiful and so many angles and so much freedom within it, it's limitless. But they go, no, I must go against this. Well, you can be outside God's plan. There's God, and then there's your plan. There's Satan's plan. And it has to go in contravention to God. Satan is a purist, because that's the laws of the inner dimensions. That's the laws of mathematics. That's the laws of free will. That's the laws of the space-time continuum. That if you start following, if the devil said, well, I'll be 80% evil and twisted, and but I'll take some good, because that works. Doesn't work like that. You either get more evil or you get more good. It's a resonance. You cannot be both. The Illuminati teaches, oh, it's a balance, and we've got the good side and the dark side, and it's a dialectic of that, but it's never that. It's like a black hole. You sink to the very bottom of it. You either ascend to God, and the more you do it, the faster you're there, or you fall into a black hole, and then you're with nothing but free will entities that are eternal energy, with all the evil of every creation there's ever been. And let me tell you, I've had the crystal visions, and God was like, you don't want to look over there, but if you want to, go ahead. And I was like, oh my goodness. And the watchers go, time for you to go back now. I was like, can I just please stay? Well, think about that. No time, total completeness. You feel it right now. You'll never feel this feeling when you're in the third dimension. But you've already been in this dimension before. You came out of this. You'll come back. You chose this. If you were here longer, you'd already know that. Go. But it doesn't mean I can't still dial into all the satanic channels. And it's horrible. It's just blasting. And if you're not aware of that and don't try to tune to the Holy Spirit of the God's channel, then people, young people, others, they don't know. And they kind of tune over the satanic channel. They feel some power. They feel some rage. It feels like this might be the way to go, but it's a lie, guys. So I know I'm pontificating and getting into the more theoretical here, but you know, it's interesting. At the very start of the show, I talked about the Atlantic run by Jeffrey Goldberg, the CIA/Mossad operative, with all the evidence there is. And haven't heard from those guys in like 14, 15 years, trying to call me. During the last break, they're calling up. Because, you know, I said I was going to get into Steve Jobs' widow and how they're whitewashing all this. And within 15 minutes, the phone goes ring, 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 ring. So I want to say hi to all the folks. Ring, 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 ring. You guys aren't feeling too powerful right now? See, I don't want a big private jet airplane, and I don't want to hang around with the elites, and I don't want to get paid off by you guys. Lord knows people up the food chain from me have tried. I like how it feels stopping you at a spiritual level. See, you guys get thrills out of dominating and ruining some innocent person and torturing and having them in horror and the power. Yeah, you got real power, real will. Well, I don't even like the idea of you being put in a Supermax prison, because even your biology I feel sorry for. I just like the idea of getting you off of our backs. And I like the feeling of when I'm in the right direction. It's like a honing system. My soul, it's food. So you guys dominating and controlling, it makes you feel powerful. It doesn't make me feel powerful, it makes me feel complete. Like I've just swam 6 miles in big waves, I'm exhausted, and I finally get to the beach, and I lay in the warm sand, and it feels so good. See, that's the embrace of God. And when I fight you, the Holy Spirit's stronger, and it connects me and binds me to God's creation in the universe. And I can feel the space-time flow. I'm in it, flows. You're like, oh, that's Star Wars. No, that's giving you an archetype. Because see, the Jedi, and it's still new age and occulty, I'm not endorsing it, but they're like, they know it's true, so they sold it like that, everybody understands it. Like the Force, the light side is, you're with the earth, God's creation, it binds you, you're connected to it. The ocean, the rock, the tree, the bird, the moon, it's all timeless. You look at the moon, all your ancestors looked at it too. It's just a great communion, and then you understand you're transcendental, you're transcendent. Instead, what is the dark side? Take control. Don't ever die. Use your will. Bend the universe to your will. Go against God's order. Make it about you. Well, you don't think I know how to do that? Ha! Believe me, you guys are lucky I don't serve the devil, because that'd be real bad news. Because at the end of the day, it's the mid-level stuff that just want to rape kids and murder and deface God's creation. The real bad guys of the hierarchy want to dominate and destroy humanity, period, and kill all these satanic minions. But see, the little babies in the satanic hierarchy don't even understand that. They don't even understand what they're really dealing with. A signal, a spiritual signal that's designed to kill us. So every bit of it is just kill that planet, kill that planet, kill that planet before it goes launch. Because once we go interstellar, once we go launch, once we go intergalactic, once we go interdimensional, then the real game starts. And yeah, you can go to the third heaven and be at total peace forever and research anything you want in time immemorial and into the future. Or you can jack into all the free will battles at different levels of the different multiverses that are unlimited. And it is the greatest adventure ever. And of course, God did that. You're God, you're eternal, you're all powerful, you do it. And of course, I'm going to create a whole bunch of new creatures that have free will, but it's going to get messy. And that's what the Satanists always challenge back. They say, God's a Satanist. I mean, yeah, okay, God did all this and let all this happen. No, God gave you free will and you did what you did. And I say this again. When you have a child, you're actually killing your child. But you're not, because it's eternal. That genetic matrix is just a encoding point for that soul and that will and that energy matrix based on the genetics what it draws into it. And it's not just one soul. You are your one soul, but there's the entire ancestral land and ancestral connection to this group and to all the other connections to that energy field. Oh, incredible. Your family is so big, ladies and gentlemen. My family's so big, so ancient, so massive, so unstoppable. And the enemy knows that. So God will show you this, not the fake church, not the system, but getting right with God and the Holy Spirit. And all these people you think are powerful because they have temporal control over this tinker toy stuff, they're the ones that cheated and went against God. They did what was easy. It's hard to wake up in the third dimension and take on these evil people that have already amassed the power to try to convince you you're weak and convince you to bow to them. But the whole thing's an exercise about transcending them through God. So they're the losers. They're the eternal losers. And you got Epstein with this little girl he's just raped. And she says, Jesus is going to save me. Jesus is here. And he goes, whoops, next email, I got some jerky. She said, Jesus is going to save me. Jesus is right here. I love Jesus. And he's like, whoops. Whoops. You think Jesus is going to save your life? Whoops. We got more jerky, boys. Jesus saved her soul. She said, Jesus is here with me. Jesus is getting ready to kill her. Jesus is about to save me. He did save her. Just like the thief on the cross, you idiot. You think you killed that body? You think you killed a soul? You don't even know there's a soul. You're not even sure about it, are you? Because the devil's lying in your ear all day long. That's why over in Israel, they obsess so much over getting those bodies. Because some of them don't even think there's a soul. They're not sure about it. It goes on and on. I haven't even hit these things yet. You guys can tell me, is John Harmon here? Wonderful, thank you. I'm not going to even plug. There's a big sale right now, 50% off on the methylene blue and a bunch of things. If you don't want to support us, whatever. Products are incredible. You're missing out. I mean, at this point, it's whatever. I'm going to come back. I mean, if you're not getting delivered the truth here, and if you don't see the devil running around 24/7, like a chicken with his head cut off trying to get us off the air, then whatever. But I mean, it's up to you to at least take this interview, take this information, take this and get this out. Because this is coffin nails the enemy. So please, share the live feed right now. Ladies and gentlemen, methylene blue is incredible. And we have the very best you're going to find anywhere at thealexjonesstore.com. What it's done to my clarity, my mind, my focus has just been wild. My workouts have been so much better. We have the best, ultramethylene blue at thealexjonesstore.com. Here's what some of the guests on the show experienced when they took it. And Joe Rogan and others talking about my transformation that methylene blue has been a big part of.
How is Alex doing these?
He's great. He lost a lot of weight now.
I saw he's getting like... Yeah, he's ready for the next
My friend
big...
Sean Johnson's training him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he gets up every morning. He works out for fucking hours. I think he's lost 70 pounds at this point. He looks fantastic, man.
Yeah.
He looks fantastic. He looks like he's 20 years younger.
I saw he looks really good, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's losing all weight. Taking back my health.
You're so good.
That's the only impression I could do.
Hey, Alex looks good, man.
Him and Joey
lost some weight. He looks good.
Dude, he looks great.
Yeah.
He works out every day. It's like no Ozempic, no bullshit, no shortcuts.
He's definitely one of my bucket list people to meet at some point.
Oh, I can introduce you to Alex.
Yeah.
We can make that happen for sure.
Come on.
It's so noticeable. I was like, wow, he looks handsome.
But I text Alex all the time. I know him. He's just losing weight. But if you go online, there's a lot of people that believe that this is like a different person. He looks great. That's all it is. He looks great.
Here's your daily motivation. Alex Jones is 51 years old. He's been through more shit than you will ever go through. The deep state has come for his life. They have come for his business. They fined him billions of dollars for free speech. Alex Jones has had his rights stripped away. They've tried to take this man's life for speaking truth. Alex Jones went from looking like this to looking now like this. Alex Jones is getting ripped. Alex Jones is getting yoked. It's showing all of us that no matter our age, no matter what's thrown at us in life, no matter how many troubles or trials that we have, what really matters is who you are on the rock-ribbed inside. Do you have gunpowder in your gut? Do you have some grit in your teeth? Can you be a man in the face of all of it? Your promised struggles in this life, can you punch back? Alex Jones is a motivation and a vibe today.
I started having seizures like a few years ago, and everybody in my family knows I'm a neuroscientist.
What did you do to fix it?
Methylene blue.
I'd take it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson was on here talking about it.
This stuff works, man.
I take it every day as well. And
yeah, RFK Jr. told me about it.
Yeah, man, it's fantastic.
What is Bobby Kennedy Jr. dropping into that glass of water?
Plenty of folks are wondering what was in that little bottle he uncorked during a flight.
Methylene blue.
Show her Kennedy taking it. Kennedy literally gobbles it.
He must be doing something right. That ripped bod is 73 years old.
You shouldn't have to tell a doctor about methylene blue. I think everybody should know about it. It's changed my life.
It kind of gives you like a boost of energy. It's not like an energy drink where you get the jitters or like you're just ready for the day and you're never going to sleep. It's more so like it clears the brain fog where you're actually, able to focus more clearly.
You feel instant energy, but without the jitteriness of caffeine and focus. What I felt was focus, mental focus.
For me, it's like a fog lifted, but it was like a veil lifted off, Incredible.
It's really interesting. I almost feel smarter. With methylene blue, I do notice that it does seem to give me more mental energy.
I knew what that did for me. I knew that it got me up and walking again, and I was having seizures without it. And let me tell you something, what a blessing.
It is a miracle, and it's been proven for 100 years. It's one of the most well-proven drugs out there. My kids take it, my wife takes it.
Everybody takes it.
What a blessing. I don't care what anybody says. I know what it's like with it, and I know what it's like without it.
All right, I want to play these two clips before we come back and meet all the stations because they're important. The London Guardian even had the similar headline, but Zero Hedge has it too. Post-Epstein document dump, the moment for left-right populist unity. Well, there is left-right populist unity, transcending the paradigm at one level. There's also leftists trying to spin it all and only make it about Trump. And then there's right-wingers saying, no, don't look at any of it because Trump's innocent. Trump is innocent of the pedophilia and the cannibalism and all that, but his Justice Department, the buck stops with him, is now, and I've got documents on that, is officially involved in the cover-up. So I'm still going to report on the good stuff Trump's doing, but I'm just really upset and angry and going to just always point that out. And we're going to look at the Trump people that are in there. I mean, that's what the listeners want. But it's almost a sin because the stuff is nothing burgers. But just to show we're good, we'll do it. I mean, it's all Democrats murdering babies, drinking blood, everything else, and no one wants to cover that because it feels too good to go, I'm pure, I'm a Republican, I'm against Trump now because of this. But, I mean, here's an example. Anna Kasparian, this is real, I'm full of crap all the years, no apology to me. She's all, it's Israel, it's Mossad, Israel runs all this, Israel does this. Yeah, Israel is heavily involved. Why don't you say MI6? Why don't you say CIA? You see, it's okay to say just Israel. And then you've got Congressman Merchant, who I love, who says, no, I think the Justice Department's covering up. So see, from the Republican, you get real criticism of what's going on. She diverts off into Israel. And then they make it all about Netanyahu's behind it. I'm not defending Netanyahu. I just report the truth. Ehud Barak is his archenemy and a Rothschild agent, and that's in the documents. But I told you that decades ago. And so was Epstein. And the Rothschilds are on record fighting to get rid of Netanyahu. So it's an inner battle going on. Doesn't mean Netanyahu doesn't run honeypots and stuff. They've been caught doing that. It's just that if you just say it's Israel, that doesn't make Israel any less guilty. But if you say it's just Israel, now you're guilty of covering up because this guy was CIA if he was anything at the top. He was all of it. He was running the CIA secret Air Force in 1991 and brags about it, and it's in the documents. I mean, it's wild, folks. So we're going to expose all of it. Here's the clips.
I think we need to take a step back and look at the bigger picture here, which is what was really going on with Epstein, because Epstein was more than just a serial pedophile and a pervert. He was an incredibly powerful man who was, by the way, in multiple instances in the files that were just released, talking about his work for Mossad, talking about his work for the Rothschilds. I mean, it just goes on and on. And so can we discuss the blackmail operation that was taking place and which government that's a special ally of the United States put him up to it? And do we really want to be allies with a country that kidnaps young girls for rape just so they can have dirt on American politicians and control our foreign policy? That's the bigger underlying issue here that no one's talking about.
Yeah. Should there be an investigation or a special counsel investigation?
I don't know. I'm not an attorney. I just find them guilty and hang them publicly. I mean, that's not over the top either. I'm ready. I'm over it. It disgusts me. I'm big on clarity and transparency, and you know, that's good reason people don't trust government, either party.
But you don't believe what the Justice Department is saying?
I don't know. I don't. I don't trust.
Yeah, I don't trust them. That's where I'm at. If I don't just trust them, I know what they're doing. We got the proof. It's cover up, okay? And I've been saying, looks like that's where they went. I can't completely prove it. Now with everything we got, yeah, it's cover up. Now, is Trump conscious of it all? I don't know. But I'm going to hammer the hell out of this because there's all this other news. But at the end of the day, this Epstein, CIA, Mossad, MI6, satanic network is what's running things, and exposing it will bring them all down. They are desperate right now. They're calling me up right now. The Atlantic's calling up right now. They're all listening right now. Now, I'm going to do this as a demonstration, everybody. So when you look at what they're doing, from my perspective, I believe this is very informative. I'm going to show you what they're showing that Trump did bad. And then I'm going to just give you a snapshot of all the stuff they don't want you to talk about. Buying, selling children, sex slaves, killing children, paying women to have babies, taking the babies, draining the babies, torturing babies sexually. It's all confirmed, all real, all his emails, all of it happening. And almost no one is actually covering that of these influencers and talk show hosts and Piers Morgan. It's just, oh, Israel's running it. Yeah, he's involved with Israel, but tell us what's going on. You see, so let's look at what Republicans are connected to here, and then let's compare it to the Democrats, including Steve Jobs' widow, coming up. Because it's so illustrative. Now, remember, this is not an apology of Trump. This is not a defense of Trump. Oh, this is the opposite. Because the DOJ, the buck stops with Trump, by extension, not focusing, not covering us. Todd Blanche saying there's no abuse, no evidence of anybody being abused. That's why we're not doing anything, when literally thousands of emails with people's names on them, and some of them have the names unredacted, prominently talking about sex slaves, paying for them, killing kids, drinking blood, all of it. 18-wheelers full of sulfuric acid, all of it. So, but see, the left, the corporate media, the system, all the fake influencers that are rebels are telling you the truth now, it's all very limited to some nebulous Israel thing, not even saying what Israel did, to protect the CIA, because you get CIA, you get them too, and MI6, and the King of England, and his brother, and all of them. So we're giving big picture, not zooming in on one little grain of sand, pulling back and seeing the beach. And noticing that the real resistance of the Justice Department would be, okay, Todd Blanche, you say there's nothing going on. What's this? What's that? What's this? What's that? Because that'll actually bring the whole thing down. But if you just make it about Trump's covering it up, but never tell you what he's covering up, or asking, do you know this is what you're covering up, Trump? I don't know. The point is, now you get how my mind works. And I'm not a lesser of two evils. I'm not an injustifies the means guy. But I liken it to, we're in a worldwide tyranny. If America falls, where do you go? Boy, you sure want to save America. It's not that you can make it perfect, but where am I going to go? just Trump killing the global carbon tax regime, all the estimates are 2 billion dead within a decade if they cut the energy off. And so I have to sit there and pray and go, God, I don't want to be lesser of two evil. You know, Trump is doing that. He thinks this is all a tar baby. He thinks it'll bring down the economy if this comes out. He's decided to go ahead and whitewash it because it's so horrible. I know that's why, for people that have been there. I'll leave it at that. I understand the thinking of that, but I don't agree with that morally, because if we start by increment choosing lesser of two evils, well, we do it more and more and more and more and more. So you'll go for what's 51% good versus 49% evil, and now that's how the devil converts you. And then just all the other good stuff that's happening. So for me, it's very painful at a spiritual level, because I know by saying, just be done, may the heavens fall, because I understand the incrementalism of end justifies the means, that I will not go along with it, that I am dooming billions to death. Now you're in my thinking. See, people think like, oh, he's not attacking Trump because he gets money. No, I get lawsuits, hell, attacks for defending Trump. But because he was overall much better, I just tried to explain it all and hope that we were wrong. Now that it becomes 100% clear, I can't live in denial. And I was never in denial, but getting close. Plus, here's the deal. It allows the Democrats to spin all this when they're the ones promoting pedophilia, sexualization of children, transgenderism, that's the tip of the spear, all this insane stuff. They get to now turn around because of Trump joining the cover-up and make him guilty, and by extension, all of us that defend him. And that's what makes me the maddest about this. Because we've got them by the balls. So now I've explained to you my thinking on this. Because I always do what I know is right. It's instinctive. What's right, I don't think about consequences to me. But I do think about consequences to others. And it's a big deal to go, okay, this could derail the good stuff Trump's doing, and then the really super bad guys that we know are up to it, their eyeballs 1 trillion times beyond him, are going to be right back in. And God's like, yeah, don't be Machiavellian. End justifies the means which got us here. God's like, explain it to me. The incrementalism, how it works. I'm like, good. I thought I was getting that message, but okay. Still, intellectually, I have to learn to give it all to God. Because God's been telling me last month, just study it all, pray about it, and then make the decision. And that said, I just spent most of the time talking about Trump again. I need to get into the enemy, okay? Because they are so scared to actually look what they've done. Now, this is Democrats killing kids, folks. And it's all Democrats, okay? And who knows, they're holding back half the files. There might be Republicans involved, but I know these circles. I know these groups. I've studied them. They don't intermix, other than the Bushes. Back then it was just one party. And that's to kind of break up the Tea Party. We got a beachhead in the Republicans. We've kind of taken part of it over. But I already know so much. I understand that's why Republicans never pop up, because they're not really there. Other than, let's do it now, Howard Lutnick. So Howard Lutnick, over a decade ago, buys the townhouse next to Epstein. And it turns out that the same real estate investment company owned by Epstein's main handler we know of, other than Bill Barr, Wexler, owned the consortium that he bought the house from. So right there you got him in business with Epstein by extension. Then you've got some other big investment fund in media stuff that a bunch of people are invested in. So, okay, yeah, they were both invested in a company. Okay, but these guys are invested in everything. So that's really a nothing burger, but it is suspicious he lives next door to him. And so that alone needs to be looked into. But that's the best they got. Or Steve Bannon, who is well known forever, running around to all the rich people trying to get money to Republican causes. I mean, I've had him before, like, hey, can you get people to try to help this cause over here? And he's very energetic. And I'm not going to defend Bannon. I don't think Bannon was involved in anything bad. We've known he went and interviewed Epstein, asked him some pretty hard questions. But the left's all like, oh, my God, he was asking Epstein, advice about how to make Brexit stronger. Doesn't mean Epstein was for Brexit. It was just Epstein was high-level CIA Mossad. Okay, so Bannon's over there. Bannon's involved. We see anything real, whatever, fine. That's what we got. Other than the Justice Department, Todd Blanche saying there's no abuse of kids, we're not doing any investigations, when the damn emails are full of total absolute proof of the sex slave is in the hotel room, they've paid for it. Okay, okay, this little girl I'm in bed with says that she's praying she's going to live. Jesus is going to save her. Whoops, Jesus didn't save you. I mean, it goes on and on, okay? Oh, I got all these young women at Zorro. I'm taking their babies. I mean, it's all there. Come on. Don't give me that. You got Pam Bondi. Oh, we've seen the hundreds of kids getting raped. Prominent people. They're all going to jail. Oh, we got it all. Suddenly, I never saw that. I just meant he had a bunch of child porn. I'm done. There is no real Trump stuff we've seen, or even his big orbit, because this was a Harvard Democrat CIA nest. The big nest with Republicans with Bush and the CIA got shut down in the late 80s because it got exposed. It was in the front page of the papers. They handed the baton off to Epstein. Now documents brought up by Mike Benz that have been public, but he knows how to look for them. The last month, all these huge reports he's done, that Epstein comes in with Bill Barr, takes over the CIA airbase, CIA airline in Ohio, brings in the Somalis, is involved worldwide in all this stuff. So I don't even count the Bushes as like Republicans. They're just the globalist system. But we're spending time right now on it. And most of the coverage is of that. Steve Bannon, political activity. I mean, I can open my phone up. It's full of Steve Bannon sending me links and this and that. We got to get on this. We got to get this person confirmed, blah, blah, blah. He's, So it's all the same stuff. Not a defense of Bannon. It's just telling you the facts. But then we have Lutnick here. And so what do we have on Lutnick? Because, again, we're spending precious time on this, but let's look later. Lutnick and Epstein were in business together, CBS News. And then it lists the stuff I said. And you got Lutnick in an interview, who's not his normal chipper self, telling a story about Epstein. I don't know if the story's true or not. I know most women didn't like Epstein and their skin crawled over it, so I tend to believe it. But here is a clip of Lutnick talking about his one meeting with Epstein when they moved in. And this same story he tells, been told by many others, were like, you want special massages? Basically, I run a whorehouse. And by the way, you look at the documents, 90% of it was like super whores. 20, 25, 30, like thoroughbred hookers. He ran whorehouses all over the place. So he had whatever you wanted. But imagine in front of Lutnick's wife, he's like, if you believe Lutnick, and then it fits the MO, so you have to have background. You're like, hey, you guys are rich and powerful. A lot of people like that, swing or whatever. It's like I didn't know what pineapples upside down meant until I was like at a resort many years ago, and this attractive woman and her husband come over to me and my wife, and they go, she's wearing an upside down pineapple necklace, and she's like, hey, let's get together. Let's put her. I was like, whoa. And then they're like, do you like pineapple? And then after they leave, I like Google it, and upside. I'm like, oh my God, that's swinging. So I didn't know all these these weird terms. My buddy years ago had a rent house, and the people moved out and got mad that he kicked them out because they weren't paying the rent. And he goes, man, those a-holes, they did an upper decker in all the toilets. And I go, what's an upper decker? See, I didn't want to tell you. It's like it's like when somebody craps in the top of the cistern of the toilet. I didn't know all this stuff. I don't know what an upside down pineapple means. I don't know but he's like, hey, you got the massage table right here. So we're spending our time on this set of cannibalism because we're going to expose the Republicans because, we're not covering up for them. We already explained Trump's admin is covering up all the stuff the Democrats are doing that's confirmed. That's the big evil. That's the thing to target. But no, let's spend all our time nebulous Israel, nebulous Lutnick. And then I'll get to how to train babies to give you better blowjobs in a minute. I'm sorry, this is in here. I'm sorry. Torture. Democrats don't want to talk about that. You see, they want to talk about this. So here's Lutnick.
He was your neighbor for 10 years. How well did you know him?
All right. So we are in number 11 and he lives in number 9.
Right.
So we renovate, we buy our house, and our house is pigeons and mice. Right. Okay, that's it. It was derelict.
Right.
So we rebuild our house. We move in 2005. Okay. Jeffrey Epstein is arrested in like 08, I think, something like that.
Right.
So knock on the door. His assistant on like a Saturday says, Mr. Epstein, your neighbor would like to invite you over for coffee. So my wife and I go next door. You know, we walk the 7 steps,
yes,
right, to the next house for coffee. We share a wall.
Right.
So it's in New York City. So he invites us in. We have coffee in this, and he says, do you want a tour? We said, great.
Interesting.
He's got a really big house.
Every room you went into?
He's got, well, I'll tell you. So his house is like super big, really wide. And so he gives me a tour in the living room, big living room. And then across from it is double doors. I assume it's the dining room.
Yeah.
And he opens the doors and there's a massage table in the middle of the room.
Ooh.
And candles all around and stuff. So I ask very insightful, cutting questions. I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me.
Ooh.
And he says, and the right kind of massage.
Ooh.
Now my wife is standing here. So she looks at me and I look at her and we say, I'm sorry, we have to go. And we left. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again. Really? So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or for even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
Oh.
And so I look back at it as a gift.
Yes.
He gave me a gift.
Yes.
Of avoid.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's my story. A one and absolutely done.
Right.
And we haven't found anything else in Ludning in there. So I don't know if it's true or not. But okay, we spent our time on Ludning. Now let's go to the real stuff that's wrong with the Trump administration. This is in the file. DOJ's respondent said, no, it's real. And this is, and I talked to Kyle Serafin, who knows how to decipher the FBI codes are on it. It's New York. It's a main investigation. And they say in here, we've been ordered to redact presidents and secretaries of states and others from this. And it's in association with women being abused. Now, that's all nebulous. Now, is that a setup by the left? Some FBI person put that in? We need to know. Or is that real? Well, we have, get Todd Blanche ready. We have Todd Blanche saying last week, there's no abuse and we're not investigating anything. So I think it's real. And of course, the email's real, but I'm saying, is it a setup? We know that goes on a lot. Or is this actually what they've been told to do? And I think it's what they've been told to do. So there you go. That's the meat and potatoes. Let me read this to you. IMD rides needs clear and specific guidance to redact those photographs. Some photographs depict victims, unknown identified females and males, former U.S. presidents, secretaries of state, and others. Celebrities. It goes into the software. There it is. So that needs to be responded to. That's super bad. Now, starting today, the Justice Department opened up to anybody in Congress, as much time as they want to be there, they'll be there for a month, they said, to go in and search the unredacted files to read the names that are on them. Well, MTG made a good point to Congressman Massey when he made this point that, you know, he's going to get the names and read them live in Congress, that search the names, search anything with pizza or with beef jerky. Because we want to know in these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails. I mean, I have like Look here. I got a stack here. There's probably 100 emails. I got 2 more stacks on beef jerky, and we haven't even printed probably 10% of them, okay? It just goes on and on. And I mean, it's like we're landing the beef jerky. We're going to walk it up to you. All right, I don't want it cold like last night. I want it live. I'll show you all that. So we need to be focused on that and him buying babies and who he's buying them from and who he's selling them to. Because then we have all the old reports going back decades and years ago. Some are 20 years old, some are 10 years old, some are 5. Of women to the FBI, he bought my baby. I was at Zorro Ranch. They had all this medical stuff. They were draining, So these women didn't make this up because they're saying things to the FBI, and they've got police reports too. And you got women escaping, all of this. And then you get the emails, and it matches. This is real, folks, okay? So we just spent 10 minutes on Howard Lutnick. If he's guilty, send him to, San Quentin. Of what, though? You see, we're focusing all on things that go nowhere because that's how they're doing this. But, 10 minutes into the show, I said I'm going to be talking about the Atlantic and its owner and how much she went to the island. And my phone started ringing from the Atlantic. They haven't called me in over 10 years. Old Jeffrey Goldberg. You see? Because I'm a bloodhound and I'm going where they don't want to go. That's what they don't like. They think you're stupid. They think I'm stupid. We're not. So, this is what the Trump administration is doing wrong. They're saying we're covering up leaders and celebrities. This is the proof. And here's Todd Blanche admitting it and trying to bully a reporter last week.
Thank you. You said this is the end of the Epstein, of your review of the Epstein files. So just to clarify, is the public going to learn the identities of the men who abused the girls with the information that you're releasing? And if not, why not? And then I have a quick follow-up.
I mean, you just baked in an assumption into your question that I have never said and I don't know to be true. Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I don't understand what that means.
Well, I mean, they're the men who abused the young women through Epstein's.
Look, we said in July, and it remains as true today as it was in July. If we had information, we meaning the Department of Justice, about men who abused women, we would prosecute them, right? We talked about the work that we're doing. That's why I said that. I said this earlier. There's this built-in assumption that somehow there's this hidden tranche of information of men that we know about that we're covering up or that we're choosing not to prosecute. That is not the case. I don't know whether there are men out there that abuse these women.
That's like when the judges in 2021 went, we don't see any proof of election fraud, but they wouldn't let you bring the proof in, and they just said it didn't exist. Now it's all come out in court. It was all true. So it's like, we don't know. We don't have confessions. We don't know. You just have thousands of emails about, we got the sex slave in this hotel room, and I just bought more babies. Yeah, we're about to, dress these down and get you all the, stuff delivered for your medical issue. I mean, it's like, what the hell are you talking about? We got one piece of pizza. There's 7 of you, but it's really a happy piece of pizza. You're going to love it. And then you got Mark Tramo and, the rest of them sitting there talking about how to train babies better to be raped. I mean, we'll talk about it when we come back. But, this is beyond evil. The best supplements, the widest selection of Patriot apparel, and knives at thealexandstore.com. And they've had some awesome daggers and awesome trench knives, and that's all great. But I said, I want a wide selection of high-quality folding knives, flip knives, you name it, so people have a one-stop shop. They got in a few thousand knives a few months ago. They sold out very quickly. 4 or 5 great designs. They got a bigger shipment in just the last 2 days. Our sponsor, just really top flight knives. These knives, this knife right here you see in the green, highest quality Damascus steel, all of it. These sell in stores for $75 all day. We're selling for $40, $40-something bucks. Okay? So look at that flip. Flips right out. Got a nice little, my signature on it, real small, nice little memento. You support the broadcast. That is a really nice knife. It clips on your belt buckles. We have it in the green. We have it in the murdered out black. We have it also in silver without it being blacked out. Those are great knives. Those are the new designs. Now, those 200 left of the Skull Crusher World War II trench knife with the Spartan tip of the spear. So they held those back. Those are available. A little bit left they held back in their overstock of the Fire with Its Beauty. But this is a really cool knife. Alex Jones Phantom folding knife. Limited stock of that came back in. Also the Alex Jones Burnt Orange folding knife. And this is the knife that sold out the quickest fitting knife. They got 500 of these. 1,000 now just came in. The first one sold out like in hours. Alex Jones Ring Blade. I guess those are popular. This is something I didn't really call for, but it's awesome. Got that ring on the back. Got the deal. It's really nice. Those are all back in stock right now at thealexjonestore.com. But while you're at it, get Methylene Blue, Irish Sea Moss, and more. And check out the Patriot Apparel, thealexjonestore.com. All right, so Trump gets into office. Pam Bondi, I don't think is involved in any of the satanic stuff from all over MO. She comes out and says, yeah, we found out they've got all this hidden stuff. We're going to go get it. Oh, my God, it's hundreds of kids getting raped. It's a lot of powerful people. They're in big trouble. And then she gets caught by OMG Media repeating the same thing, which she doesn't know. She's being taped at a restaurant. And then she makes other similar statements. And then a few months later, she comes out and says at a cabinet meeting, oh, no, Epstein had child porn. It wasn't victims. There's nothing there. Even though he had all the cameras and hard drives the FBI seized. No, there's nothing there. Even though we talk about torturing and sex slaves, I'll show you the emails in a minute. Showed a bunch last night. We got even more new stuff today. By new, I mean just more horrible stuff. But this is Democrats being protected. Almost everybody in there with real stuff is Democrats and Larry Summers and Harvard and Bill Gates and all these globalists. But it's not about defending them. It's just or attacking them. It's about reporting the information. And then by extension, the DOJ covering this up and saying none of it exists, as you heard Todd Blanche say, makes them by extension accomplices under law. But again, the Democrats want to make it all about Trump's DOJ's cover-up. That's clearly they've been trying, not been working. And instead of them frying the Democrats and prosecuting them for what they've got. So when you see Anna Kasparian, you can pull the clips up attacking me for Pizzagate, attacking me for the WikiLeaks that we're delivering a 7, 9, and 11-year-old for your entertainment, Mr. Podesta, to the hidden wooded area. They'll be in the hot tub waiting for your entertainment. And the Aleister Crowley rituals tomorrow. All that stuff. Oh, no. I'm crazy. I'm the devil. I should be off the air. But now that it's all out in the open, she's like, it's Israel and Israel alone. Okay, great. He was involved in the Israel summit. He's saying you're shipping beef jerky that you have to refrigerate to labs all over the place. We know what it is. Adrenochrome is the kind of dumbed down provincial term, like saying chemtrail versus geoengineering. No, it's tortured kids and their endorphins, not just their adrenaline. It's blood and it's other things. And it's Peter Nygaard and Epstein and stem cells out of dead babies. And we already knew all this, but it's all in there now. It's insane. I already knew it, but there it is. Like I said, the former head of the FBI in LA, he was tapped to be the director. Very high level, ran major operations for the FBI. He told me all this stuff. And I knew he was credible, so I didn't think he was lying, but it just didn't sound real. And now here it all is, folks. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And whereas it should be you have all these leftist politicians resigning in Europe and the UK. You have all these globalist leftists and Rothschilds in deep trouble because this is a Rothschild operation. And instead, Anna Kasparian is talking about Netanyahu. The Rothschilds are Netanyahu's enemy. He's another bad faction. It's not defending him. It's like, know who you're dealing with. Ehud Barak worked for the Rothschilds. They say it in emails, not Netanyahu. Netanyahu's the enemy in there. And they'll take the clip out and say, look at this son of a bitch covering up from Israel. I'm telling you, the players are who did it. Anna Kasparian, though, is Again, she's all holy because she's been greenlit by her handler. She can do all this now and look credible because they know the world's woken up. They can't just deny it's happening now. So now just spin it and then divert people. So let's go to the end and then go back to the beginning. Here's Bondi in July, months and months after, totally 180ing, looking like a deer in the headlights, looking very suspicious, so we know she's wrong. Going back on what she was told and what she saw and what she knew, we have like her admitting 5 times, once secretly. And I'm just supposed to say, oh, it's okay, yeah, it was a misunderstanding. No, because then I become an accomplice if I go along with that. But all the Democrats attacking Trump and Lutnick and stuff for saying they're screwing kids or they're no, that's all you that do it publicly, and the transgenderism and the drag queen story time and the sexualization of children and Keira Starmer covering up for the Muslim mass rape gangs we'll get to later. I got big clips on that. No, you're the thoroughbreds, you're the MVPs, you're the Super Bowl winners, it's you. And so Trump and his people may cover up for you, but I ain't. So when they cut this up and make it look like I'm just attacking Trump or whatever they're doing, you heard what I did, I exposed it, and they have knowingly, from Anna Kasparian right through to all these other people that are attacking me every day on every channel, that I'm covering up Epstein when I'm actually telling you with the evidence and showing how it works. They are. Then we talk about Lutnick buying a house from Lex Wexner, and so he's in business with Epstein. I don't care about Lutnick. The point is that's a diversion to throw us off the trail. Find some real thing of Lutnick, sit him in the electric chair. But it ain't going to be there. They'd already used it. So here's Bondi claims she has no knowledge of Epstein being tied until this is months and months after the next clips you're going to see. Here it is.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file, along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. By that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein, child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
Pure BS. And I know people are saying hydrofluoric acid, I get it all mixed up, and then you got the next most deadly or strong acid is hydrosulfuric, and then this is sulfuric, but you can't get the type they're talking about, but it's a breakdown of that and almost as strong and does as all bodies. So, but we're just going to the facts here. So here is OMG undercover of Bondi, months before, saying it's tens of thousands of videos and it's all little kids. And then we have her later more specifically saying, no, it's you know, we know who they are. We're going to get them. It's really bad. Go ahead and play clip B, C, D, and E back to back. Here it is.
Do you know when the Epstein files are going to get released?
We hope soon. The FBI has been.
Okay.
So.
Any dates?
No, you know what it is? There's 1,000 videos.
Yeah.
And it's all with little kids. So they have to go through every.
What about the Epstein files? A lot of conversation about the Epstein files. And I recognize that when you're dealing with children, it takes much more time. You've got to ensure that what you're sending out publicly is not revealing any personal information. But can you give us a sense of those two items and whether or not we'll learn more about them?
Sure. You're going to hear, all I'll say on January 6th, you're going to hear a lot more about the January 6th Commission in a very good way. And as to Epstein, yes, you're absolutely right, Maria. You know, tens of thousands of pages of documents and hundreds of victims of Jeffrey Epstein. So the FBI, they have been working round the clock at my directive, at Kash Patel's directive. Now Dan Bongino's there, who is a great asset for all of us at the FBI as well. But yeah, we have to protect their identity, their personal information to make sure they're safe. But other than that, we are releasing all of these documents as soon as we can get them redacted to protect the victims of of all of these horrific crimes that he committed. We all did. And the FBI handed over a couple hundred pages of documents. But, you know, Sean, I gave them a deadline of Friday at 8 a.m. to get us everything. And a source had told me where the documents were being kept. Southern District of New York, shock. So we got them all by, hopefully all of them, Friday at 8 a.m. Thousands of pages of documents. I have the FBI going through them, and Kash is also, now that we have Kash here, it's a game changer, of course, and Kash is going to, Director Patel is going to get us a detailed report as to why the FBI withheld all of those documents.
Okay, I want to be clear, because I think people got frustrated because they were expecting more. You were expecting more, and you didn't find out less than 24 hours before the release. You got a whistleblower that confirmed that there were way more documents that they were supposed to turn over, and then you found out just before that.
Well, sure. And you're looking at these documents going, these aren't all the Epstein files. You know, there were flight logs, there were names and victims' names. And we're going, where's the rest of the stuff? And that's what the FBI had turned over to us. And so a source said, whoa, all this evidence is sitting in the Southern District of New York. Yeah. So based on that, I gave them the deadline, Friday at 8, a truckload of evidence arrived. It's now in the possession of the FBI. Kash is going to get me and himself, really, a detailed report as to why all these documents and evidence had been withheld. And, you know, we're going to go through it as fast as we can, but go through it very cautiously to protect all the victims of Epstein, because there are a lot of victims.
Well, you had identified in phase one over 254. Okay. Now, is that the only thing that would be redacted? Will everything else be made public that you get in your possession?
Yeah, the FBI hasn't had, obviously, they haven't looked at the thousands of pages of documents that they've just received Friday. Yeah. But Kash has a team going through them, and it's always about protecting the victim. But you know what? We believe in transparency, and America has the right to know. The Biden administration sat on these documents. No one did anything with them. And why were they sitting in the Southern District of New York? I want a full report on that. You know, sadly, these people don't believe in transparency. But I think more, unfortunately, I think a lot of them don't believe in honesty. And it's a new day. It's a new administration. And everything's going to come out to the public. The public has a right to know. Americans have a right to know.
And that goes the same with the JFK files.
JFK?
When we post this to X and Rumble later from the live show, we'll put it up front. You have her in the cabinet meeting saying, nope, never said that. It's child porn. It's not Epstein. He's not doing anything. And then you have her in all these other videos saying, no, it's hundreds of victims. It's him. We know it's him. And then you have all the emails and stuff and all the witnesses. We know it's him. You may have had some other stuff there as well. And then they just turn around and say, we're traitors if we say this, and we didn't hear all this. So, and now Todd Blanche says, no, there's no evidence of any victims. There's no evidence of any abusers. He's mad at the reporter. This is just crazy. What are you talking about? What do you think? This is Jeffrey Epstein case or something? So there's the crime. There's what's bad with the Trump administration. Right in plain view. But we need to focus on that. 20% of the time, whatever. How about 99% of the time? Can we focus 1% on all the proven sex slaves and murder and death and killing? Because people aren't doing that, and that's how the enemy's winning. They're making it all about Trump. Just because Trump's done the wrong thing and his DOJ's done the wrong thing, great, we're upset with them and we're exposing it. But we have to focus on the Democrats and Bill Gates and planning the pandemic and the sex slavery and all of this stuff. We have to talk about that, which I'll get to in a moment, and Carl Sarafin's coming up to get into it as well. I did some really sick stuff. But let's finish up with her. Here it is.
Yep, absolutely.
What are the things that, and maybe some people don't understand the need to redact. In the case of a victim, that should be pretty obvious.
We've already heard this. Skip to the next one.
What are the other things that maybe you would have to redact?
James Palmer said yesterday that all the Epstein files are missing. Can you confirm that some of them? We still haven't heard from you.
No, the FBI, they're reviewing, there are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going through that. I haven't seen that statement, but I'll call him later and find out.
Ed Martin seems to be facing a very tough...
So it's Epstein abusing children, and that's all in his emails. We'll show you in a moment. But Todd Blanche says there's nothing there. Go to sleep. Okay. All right. And again, when these Democrats jump up and down and say, CCC, go, oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, they're guilty by extension now, but you're the ones that covered it all up and said it didn't exist, and your party's the one that did it. Let's make it about that, because, yeah, okay, whatever we got to do with Trump, that's that. But you're not going to turn this around and not make it about you, because you're the leader of this circus. You're this ringmasters. Trump's just turning into a clown over on the side. Trump and his DOJ are just like one little scene at the circus, a little clown car that drives around and 10 clowns pile out now. So sad when it comes to this case. So much other good stuff. But I mean, that's what it is. But the circus master, that's you. And so we need to turn that around on these Democrats and get all the clips of Anna Kasperi and all the rest of the Democrats attacking me and others, but mainly me. It doesn't exist. There's no Pizzagate. There's no human trafficking. I've seen her do it. He makes up all this stuff. There's no pedophilia. They just say, like, there's no Antifa. They're like, there's no pedophilia. There's no Satanism. It's a satanic scare. They've done shows about me recycling the 80s. Jones has brought back the 1980s satanic scare. NPR, CNN. Jones claims they're kidnapping kids and draining their blood. Jones claims that they do it on islands before the island was even known. And then they spin it because I'm saying, no, Howard Lutnick bought a house from the guy that ran Epstein. Got to watch him. Give me some evidence. You have all this evidence. We got to go there. And they just do the same thing. Why are you covering up for Trump? I just exposed that Trump, by extension, has become complicit. They ignore that. They edit it out to deceive you because they don't want you to come to the actual show. They don't want you to actually see the documents. They don't want you to be empowered. Let's just start going into it. Mark Tramo, PhD, Director of Institute of Music Brain Science, founding member of the board of co-director, University of California, Initiative Associate Clinical Professor of Neurology at David Gevin School of Medicine, UCLA, adjunct, goes on, professor. And looky here, Mark Tramo, neurologist who has taught, and goes on, is talking to Epstein after their meeting, how great it was. Says, thanks for sending Richard Johnson my way. This is him talking to Jeffrey Epstein. I trust the kind words I shared with him are acceptable to you. If not, please let me know ASAP. I'm on the road. Yeah, didn't tell him about the little secrets. I'm on the road. My cell is redacted in it. That's okay. Then I hope you realize this recognition for all you do for so many of us, in my way, opinion, overdue and well-deserved. Cheers, Mark. Yo, he does so much for him, don't you worry. Was just reading today that newborns will suck on a pacifier more vigorously if it triggers playback of a recording of their mother's voice than another woman's voice. Have you read David Brock's Social Animal? Was #1 New York Times. Mark Jude Trano, Department of Neurology, Director Institute, Co-Director, University of California, multi-campus. Now, there's a bunch of other references in there to starving the babies so they suck harder. There's other emails from other people. So that just give you an idea. These are some really, really sick people. Now, moving on here, let's look at this. Jeffrey Epstein email exchange where they talk about a little girl praying in bed about Jesus saving her life. This is in 2011. And we'll put it on screen for you, if we can, the HD of that. It's just kind of hard to read there. It's a little bit blurred. And he's talking to an unnamed person We can wait till you get pulled up. I wanted that earlier. I know there's a lot for you guys to keep track of. Just wait till you get a date sheet up. This is all over the place. You just type in Jeffrey Epstein, little girl, bed, Jesus. It'll come up on X for you. And, yeah, there it is. She said that she felt God's presence next to her when she was in bed. She knows that Jesus watches over her and he helps save her life. Whoops. Clearly, yeah, no, Jesus didn't save your life. Absolutely sick. But this stuff you can say is just esoteric and, gross. But when you get into all of the jerky and, one piece of pizza, it's glowing and really happy and you'll like it. There'll be, for 7 of you, and then they go, yeah, I love the torture video. Yeah, I'm freaked out. I don't want any more pizza. I'm seeing shadows. Well, it's hidden for everybody. We already showed you those last week. Just go to the Department of Justice search and type in jerky. And he's talking to Francis Derby, who owns a restaurant called Cannibal, The Cannibal. And he's talking to, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these. Francis has time to come tomorrow to show me how to make it. Jerky class, anyone? He will also bring you a taste of his new jerky recipe from his restaurant and sends a warm hello. He's working on a restaurant called Cannibal and cooks, wait for it, the beef jerky and steak. He has time at 3 p.m. tomorrow, if that's okay with you. This is to Jeffrey Epstein. He's responding back. How is your jerky situation? Should I bring more? Old saying, dog ate my homework. Well, my dog ate the beef jerky. I was looking for the beef jerky, and I knew it was in my suitcase, and then thought maybe I left it at the beach only to find the small plastic bag near my dog's bed, hence no beef jerky. I emailed Francis to make sure more of it. We need 6 to 8 ounces to send to the lab to get processed in the IVs, and I'll forward Francis the info to send it to the lab directly. I'll try you later today. This is a message complaining to Jeffrey Epstein and others. I don't want to be too demanding, but the last time food was cold, can you please make sure the food is hot? Cold pizza, dead kid, and cold pasta, dead kid, are disgusting. Do you still want us for lunch? Woody said you should write back, Woody, meaning that you just want Woody for lunch today. Just so you know that wouldn't go over well. This is hundreds of these. Jeffrey is becoming the Mother Teresa. Sorry, I spilled water on this. That's why you see that. Feeding hungry children and taking care of the poor. Feeding hungry children. I mean, feeding them out. If this happens, I will get very scared, and then the end of the world is soon. And there's breakdowns of Asmund Gold. He does a good job breaking these down very quickly. Let's click up at him, and then I got a bunch that haven't been covered yet. At least I haven't seen them covered yet. Got hundreds of them around over there. And I haven't even gotten into the openly him in hundreds of emails selling babies, buying babies, disappearing babies, paying them for their babies. And this is him talking about babies. I think I covered at the start, too, that sex slavery. We have the slave. We have the slave. It's at the Hyatt. It's a sex slave, and it's been paid for. Here's that clip.
People going crazy think they found a code word for human meat? Wait, what? Hope you are feeling better. Did we analyze the jerky? Why didn't we get jerky this week? I also added more to the jerky and ginger lemongrass. Thank you so much. Super cool. Beef jerky Yes, JoJo is here and we'll walk the jerky over to Jeffrey. We'll walk the jerky over to Jeffrey. Why would jerky walk around? Why would it do that? Delicious lunch, beef jerky. Steve and I are very grateful above all for your friendship. Some of these emails are so wholesome, aren't they? It's too bad they eat kids. A small insulated bag would be fine. I don't remember checking it. No need for crazy amounts of ice. One should do. There is one bag of beef jerky in the fridge. Please get it. Also, Blank has more at her place. Please her as well. I suppose it needs to be in a cold, insulated bag. Just wanted to touch base about jerky. J.E. said he was going to start eating regular food again, so he might be eating less jerky. He said he has 6 bags of it in the downstairs freezer. Why would you freeze jerky? Steve needs a 6 to 8 ounce portion of jerky.
We'll be right back. Stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, methylene blue is incredible, and we have the very best you're going to find anywhere at thealexshowstore.com. What it's done to my clarity, my mind, my focus has just been wild. My workouts have been so much better. We have the best ultramethylene blue at thealexshowstore.com. Here's what some of the guests on the show experienced when they took it, and Joe Rogan and others talking about my transformation that methylene blue has been a big part of.
How is Alex doing these?
He's great. He lost a lot of weight now.
I saw he's getting like... Yeah, he's ready for the next.
My friend
big...
Sean Johnson's training him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he gets up every morning. He works out for fucking hours. I think he's lost 70 pounds at this point. He looks fantastic, man.
Yeah.
He looks fantastic. He looks like he's 20 years younger.
I saw Alex Jones, and he looks really good, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's losing all weight. Taking back my health.
You're so good.
That's the only impression I could do.
Hey, Alex looks good, man.
Him and Joey
lost some weight. He looks good.
Dude, he looks great.
Yeah.
He works out every day. It's like no Ozempic, no bullshit, no shortcuts.
He's definitely one of my bucket list people to meet at some point.
Oh, I can introduce you to Alex.
Yeah.
We can make that happen for sure.
Come on.
It's so noticeable. I was like, wow, he looks handsome.
I text Alex all the time. I know him. He's just losing weight. But if you go online, there's a lot of people that believe that this is like a different person. He looks great. That's all it is. He looks great.
Here's your daily motivation. Alex Jones is 51 years old. He's been through more shit than you will ever go through. The deep state has come for his life. They have come for his business. They fined him billions of dollars for free speech. Alex Jones has had his rights stripped away. They've tried to take this man's life for speaking truth. Alex Jones went from looking like this to looking now like this. Alex Jones is getting ripped. Alex Jones is getting yoked. It's showing all of us that no matter our age, no matter what's thrown at us in life, no matter how many troubles or trials that we have, what really matters is who you are on the rock-ribbed inside. Do you have gunpowder in your gut? Do you have some grit in your teeth? Can you be a man in the face of all of it? Your promised struggles in this life, can you punch back? Alex Jones is a motivation and a vibe today.
I started having seizures like a few years ago, and everybody in my family knows I'm a neuroscientist.
What did you do to fix it?
Methylene blue.
I'd take it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson was on here talking about it.
This stuff works, man.
I take it every day as well. And
yeah, RFK Jr. told me about it.
Yeah, man, it's fantastic.
What is Bobby Kennedy Jr. dropping into that glass of water?
Plenty of folks are wondering what was in that little bottle he uncorked during a flight.
Methylene blue.
Show her Kennedy taking it. Kennedy literally gobbles it.
He must be doing something right. That ripped bod is 73 years old.
You shouldn't have to tell a doctor about methylene blue. I think everybody should know about it. It's changed my life.
It kind of gives you like a boost of energy. It's not like an energy drink where you get the jitters or like you're just ready for the day and you're never going to sleep. It's more so like it clears the brain fog where you're actually, you know, able to focus more clearly.
You feel instant energy, but without the jitteriness of caffeine and focus. What I felt was focus, mental focus.
For me, it's like a fog lifted, but it was like a veil lifted off, you know? Incredible.
It's really interesting. I almost like feel smarter. With methylene blue, I do notice that it does seem to give me more mental energy.
I knew what that did for me. I knew that it got me up and walking again, and I was having seizures without it. And let me tell you something, what a blessing.
It is a miracle, and it's been proven for 100 years. It's one of the most well-proven drugs out there. My kids take it, my wife takes it.
Everybody takes it.
What a blessing. I don't care what anybody says. I know what it's like with it, and I know what it's like without it.
Steve needs a 6 to 8 ounce portion of jerky. I gave you all the jerky we had, and it lasted only half the amount of time it was meant to. I felt like it was more important for you to have the jerky to eat during my time off. My plan is to make a batch before I leave for LSJ, and some of that will go to Steve, and the rest will go to you at LSJ when I arrive. Little St. James Island. And that's what LSJ must mean. So logically, that means that they were doing this off of the island. Steve Hansen is sending jerky to your attention overnight. I believe it should be enough to get him through. Jeffrey Epstein is asking to bring him more jerky. I'm flying in on Friday. I will bring jerky. Is there a time I could come say hi and drop off the beef jerky? And that's from Jeffrey Epstein. Francis has time to come tomorrow. Show me how to make it. Jerky class anyone. He will bring you to taste his new jerky recipe from the restaurant. He sends a warm hello. He's working at a restaurant called guys, the restaurant's called Cannibal and Cooks. Wait for it. Beef jerky and steak. Can blank make some jerky? I think we should landscape all around the house to use the water if possible. If the main house is not enough. Are there any recorded images of Jeffrey Epstein with beef jerky at all? No, there are no recorded or publicly known images of Jeffrey Epstein with beef jerky. Who sends beef jerky to a lab for analysis? Wait, what? I was looking for the beef jerky as I knew it was in my suitcase, and I thought that maybe I left it on the beach, only to find a small plastic bag near my dog's bed. I'll email Francis to make us some more, as I need 6 to 8 ounces to send to the lab, and I'll forward to Francis the info to send to the lab directly. Guys, I think something's going on. What's this here? Commercial. Apparently it's his last girlfriend who's active on Twitter right now. Check the mail. Names for hers again. Oh boy, oh boy. People are saying this is Jeffrey Epstein's last girlfriend. And this is the same name as inside of the files. And her name change hasn't occurred since 2017, before the files released. After years of silence, the truth. Jeffrey was innocent. Really? Like, he just a good boy? He didn't do nothing wrong? Trapped by powerful people who silenced him. I was his last confidant, and I have the evidence that they're still hiding. I'm not suicidal, just in case. You'll know the whole truth soon. They sacrificed children to Lucifer. It's an entire cult. Jeffrey got involved in their operation for financial reasons and to obtain Combraprat, but never participated in the rituals. Oh, what is this here? I'll pull this one up and see it. That's crazy. She cooked in the brain? Maybe. She ate the brain? Yeah, maybe she did. Wire transfer request form. A 65-gallon... Guys, 655-gallon sulfuric acid with fuel and insurance charge? They are dissolving bodies.
Yeah, that's just a weaker form of the type you can't get, the strongest in the world. People are confusing the two. I haven't gotten into the main jerky, walking up the jerky from the beach for you to eat it, sending it everywhere. And by the way, I moved my stack around, so I just had the newest stuff about buying babies, him openly doing it. But I'm glad somehow I moved it around and didn't find it, because it made me go back to X and type in Jeffrey Epstein buying babies. Just hundreds and hundreds, all him openly doing it, openly saying what they're doing. And then women and police reports and FBI reports describing exactly what he admits to in the emails. So I just sent like 15 links to Crew to print those off. Kyle Seraphin, incredible FBI whistleblower, joins us to talk about this firestorm, because this goes to the heart of everything. And what do we do? Because this is causing a global revolution. People are really waking up. The bad guys are flooding the zones with pictures of Trump with his kids saying they're kidnapped children. They're flooding the zone with fake AIs of him that are admitted AIs. People want me to say that's the proof. And it's a diversion from the real stuff. We get something real on Trump, we're there. But you got a public that's kind of woken up, they're being lied to, but they're not sophisticated. And the globalists are using that. That is their main push. And then you got the Rothschilds and all the resignations in Europe, and Lord Mandelson, living in the Rothschild castle. And Keir Starmer refusing to resign. They were going to put an Islamic woman in if he did resign. I mean, this is just crazy. Everything we ever talked about, all out coming out in the open. A DOJ trying to cover it up when it destroys the Democrats. But Todd Blanche, the Democrats, what do you expect? I mean, Trump is really screwed up.
Many people don't know that our enemy was not just the flesh and blood. but spiritual as well. The gangs didn't just murder, rape, extort, they also worship Satan. Straight up, literally. When we went to their homes to arrest them, we discovered altars they've been using for satanic rituals. This is well documented. We put up the pictures, the videos right away. But for some reason, the global mainstream media didn't think it was worth it to cover it. But we know gangs in El Salvador were satanic and they worship Satan, and some of those gangs are here in the United States.
Yeah, well, if you study every ancient culture before they collapsed, they became what you could call satanic. And all the stuff described in the Bible, they basically dug up. Moloch, Baal, Baal, sacrificing kids to them. So I haven't even scratched the surface on all these documents or the jerky being delivered or sending it to the lab. And it's stem cells, it's Peter Nygaard stuff. And then I've got giant stacks here of him buying babies and talking to women that, well, you're going to pay me more. Well, no, I didn't promise that. I've already paid you. And Zorro Ranch, and then police reports, FBI reports, going back 15 years, 10 years, women saying just what's in the reports. And then we've had one of the victims on, and she was saying it years ago, yeah, I was at Zorro Ranch, I was in a lab, and they were doing all, and he's got all these labs in there, not just dental chairs. This is so evil. But I called Kyle Seraphin yesterday, and I called some other folks who I won't name who are experts on this stuff. Talked to DOJ folks. I talked to him, former FBI agent. And I said, just had it here. We'll pull it back up. Here it is. Got a little bit going on here. I mean, just one of these things would be a giant investigation. My head is spinning. And yeah, Todd Blanchard killed everything. Trump did not know that he basically fired without doing it. Removed him from the weaponization board, Ed Martin. I'll just leave it at that. And then I asked him about, this document. Was I reading this wrong? And he said no, because he knows all the codes. And I said, well, taken with Blanche saying there are no victims and there's no crimes in here. We know there are. And then having Bondi say over and over again, undercover and on TV at least 3 times, and a press conference, that's 5 times, just played it last hour, that no, we've seen Epstein abusing hundreds of kids, and we got names, they're all in trouble. Now, and then a cabinet meeting months later, oh, no, that was just child porn, and then there's no victims, and then the deer in the headlights, Bongino and Patel, he acted alone, he wasn't a human trafficker, he didn't have accomplices, he killed himself, Crooks acted alone, and both of them looked like they had guns in their head. I mean, a 3-year-old caught stealing cookies out of a cookie jar does a better job lying. I mean, I'll say this. I don't think they're very evil people because they are the worst liars I've ever seen in my life. And I don't think Bondi's been involved because she's like, yes, I've seen it. It's terrible. They're all going to jail. And later, oh, no, I didn't do it. I mean, it's literal Keystone Copville. And I'm mad for the victims. I want to bring down the globalists. And now the Democrats have been handed a huge victory because 99% of this is them. All the real stuff. And instead, the White House couldn't have handled this worse. It's now attached itself by extension to being accomplices after the fact. And look, Trump's good at what he's good at, but everybody thinks he plays 10D chess and everything. He doesn't. Negotiations, business, common sense stuff, yeah, he's good. Here at Trump, he's like, I've been looking at this. And I have people that are there. He doesn't. He's like, I didn't do anything. I'm sick of this. They say Melania's a whore in there. Screw this. And I'm sick of this. And people are like, I'm sick of that crap. He'll go, and then he'll go release it all. They go, well, there's a bunch of stuff about you. And he goes, what? I'm not. So it doesn't matter. I know what's going on. And it's been handled wrong, and it gets worse and worse. Trump has like 8 bear traps on his legs now. This is killing us in all the polling numbers. And then everybody's diverted onto the cover-up instead of the Democrats throw up their eyeballs. So I like Massey. I like them all. But I noticed that MTG, that left Congress, told Massey in an X post, now that Congress can get in and see the unredactions, go look at jerky, look at pizza, but also look at the CIA aircraft in Ohio and he was running, and Lex Wexner. I mean, my point is all the stuff we're focusing on is diversions. Oh, Lutnick lived next door. And out of all these businesses, they were in a co-investment company that was a venture capital, but that had hundreds of investors. I'm not defending Lutnick. If he's guilty, get him. There's nothing there that I've seen. Meanwhile, we've got the sex slave at the Hyatt. The financing's handled. Yes, I just bought 3 more babies. Who are you telling that to? SWAT team them now. And if I don't come out and say that, I am now a part of this. And so I'm done. If I don't start seeing, by the way, I've had the White House call me since we were on, and I've had 50 minutes of the show, the Atlantic call me. I've had the Atlantic Monthly call me in 10 years. Because I started the show saying I'm about to get into Laureen Powell jobs. We'll get into that. But let me shut up and go to Kyle Seraphin, theKyleSerafinShow.com, theKyleSerafinShow.locals.com, on X at Kyle Seraphin, batting 1,000, KyleSerafinShow.com, on Rumble /Kyle Seraphin. Kyle, you just heard my rant. We talked an hour yesterday. We've been texting a lot. You reached out to your people. You've seen all this. What do you make of all this? What do you make of the gestalt I just threw out? And what do you think we should focus on? Because there's a lot to look at here.
There's too much to look at. That's the whole point. I think that's what you and I are recognizing. And I hadn't seen those emails that you were covering last hour, and they're absolutely bizarre. I did a little experiment because I was really curious. Like, does the word pizza randomly appear in emails that I'm sending to friends and family members? So I went through my Gmail. You got like a 5-6 years of your history of your life and whatever kind of transactions you have. So I just type in the word pizza. I want to see what's going on. When do I talk about pizza? Is that a thing that I do? Pretty much when I'm going to a pizza place. Like, it's the order from the pizza place. It's the receipt from the place if I bought it online and they send me an email. That's it. That's the only time that I reference pizza. I don't bring it up with friends. It doesn't come up unless we're going to a place that we know and it's like, hey, we're going to go to Pine House. Yeah, we're going to go to Pine House. Okay, cool. Like, I'll see you there. If you want to order first, this is what we order. We like pepperoni and basil. Like, it's actually really, you'd read it and you'd go, that makes sense. I get that. A couple of regular people. I don't have discussions about jerky unless I'm ordering beef jerky. I used to work with a beef jerky sponsor. So sometimes we do that. Or my wife will be like, hey, we have to order more. We ran out.
But you're not, we're going to send the jerky to a lab. Oh, I sure need more. We're walking the jerky up. Or we've got one slice. It's glowing and loving. It's really good. But the 7 of you have to share it.
It's the weirdest shit you've ever seen in your life. And so here's the problem with all this. And this is what you and I were talking about yesterday. So we'll make it available to the audience. Kind of this freewheeling thought process. There are people that spent literally years investigating this. You've had a few minutes to look at it. It's been out for a couple, a week and a half, 2 weeks. So you're looking at 3 million plus documents. What about the people that lived and breathed this as case agents, that every single day looked at it and tried to suss out what everything meant and put it in order and knows why those emails were there and how they were gotten to and what the analysts did when they ran through it? Why did we not have a briefing at the very minimum? Because we got Pam Bondi saying things that are conflicting, and I'm sure she got briefings, and they seem like they must be different each time. I don't think Pam Bondi has any idea what's in there. That's just my guess. I don't think Kash Patel knows what's in there. I don't think Dan Bongino knows. I don't think the current FBI deputy knows. I would bet you that a very small number of people who know what the case actually was knows why any of that is there. Where are the search warrants? Didn't they go to Zorro Ranch? Don't we have the belief that they went there and did that? They did search warrants.
We know they grabbed hundreds of hard drives.
So where are the pictures from those? Because there should be entrance pictures. Whenever you do a search warrant, first you do a tactical clear. So you hit the door, you go through, you secure it, make sure there's no human beings hiding places that can jump out and hurt you. And then you go through and you take pictures of every single thing as it is, all what they call establishing shots from the outside of the street all the way in through the entire search. And then you go and you do all your searches and you find all your evidence and whatever you're going to take with you and you document what that is. And then you take pictures as you leave. I haven't seen those pictures. Where are those? Are they in the archives? Are they part of the 180,000? Why did we not just get someone say, look, this is the curated guide to what we gave you. This tranche of emails means the following things. This is what we ran down. This is why these names are redacted. This is what we discovered that basically has no bearing on the topic. It's a code word for drugs. It's a code word for something else.
Sure, well, let me tell you.
It'd be so easy to do, Alex.
I agree. But let me tell you, I don't want to call myself an expert, but compared to most people I am. I heard about pizza as a code word before the Pizzagate 10 years ago. And it's in FBI manuals that this is the stuff going on. It's very clear that's what they're doing. we have Podesta, we have emails that are confirmed where they're like the 7, 9, and 11-year-old will be delivered to the woodland secluded area to the pool for your entertainment. They're well trained, but they are children. And then his brother all into pedophilia and publishing stuff in the Washington Post, with kids being tortured and then calling it dangerous art. And then and the whole group and the whole thing. I mean, and it's Hillary and all of them. We know what they're doing. Okay, they talk about Aleister Crowley.
No, I agree with you.
What I'm saying is,
I'm not discrediting any of that.
No,
why didn't they put the people who work on this stuff for a living?
All the stuff I've learned over 30 years, and then it's like it mirrors what's in this, even the same players, what's in the WikiLeaks. So it's definitely beyond sick.
100% that all the people that have been, sort of downplaying it and acting like this wasn't a possible, that it's completely impossible. And it's obviously just talking about food, and all the same code words pop up, whether it's grape soda or hot dogs or like you were reading cold pizza and pasta and all this other kind of stuff. All of these things are not being addressed, and they could be very easily explained. It's like, we know what they mean. We have an entire division in the FBI that does violent crimes against children, and they investigate this, and they're based out of Maryland. And I got my Quantico roommate spent 8 years there as an analyst. They are experts on the dark web and what gets passed around and how things get set up. Freaking the FBI runs half of those sites as sort of like honeypot traps.
The Podesta manager, political lady, we covered this last week. She had a website that literally basically advertised small children. It said, "Here are the children for your parties." I mean, they're not. The thing is,
this stuff is not unknown, and the point of it is why did the Attorney General? Why was she out saying one thing, changing her story, consistently moving? There's files on my desk. We've got a client list. There is no client list. The whole thing. She wasn't apparently part of the final memo that went out in July of last year.
What I'm asking you is, I understand the process and all that. Why would Trump attach himself? Why would they start covering this up when it's all Democrats to boot? And I guess what you're saying is they're all compartmentalized, and that's kind of come out of just incompetent. And I'm not defending them. Now the Democrats.
This goes back this is as far back as we've talked about this. The same process is going on, Alex. We're watching an agency discredit this administration and discredit anybody that wants transparency. They're like, you want transparency? Here's 3 million files.
You predicted
with
11 months ago. We got to find that interview. And it was kind of novel to me. I knew they did it. He said, no, they got bad guys in the middle level. They're setting them up every step of the way.
I'm currently fixated on the guy that's about to become the assistant director of the Criminal Investigation Division, and his name is Heath, either Yankee or Janke. It's Janke, and he's the guy that's the special agent in charge of the Phoenix office right now. And so he just came into prominence because he's doing all the PR push for the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping, Samantha Guthrie situation. Like, he's out there talking in front of the press, and then everyone starts emailing me like who this guy is. And I start getting these, tips in from all my sourcing and in the Kansas City division where he worked, and he was a scumbag. It's like all of these people have compromise on them. All of them default to defending the agency. And if that means that they're going to discredit the people that are at the top of the agency that say that they're going to go do something, whether it be a Bongino or whether it be a Patel or whether it be a Bondi, it doesn't really matter. And at the end of it all falls on Trump. At some point, when you're the boss, and Trump has had atrocious handling of DOJ basically since 2017. They have never worked for him. They have always worked against him. They have always gone out there and looked at him as an enemy and treat him as such. And like his own quote unquote DOJ was the one he put Chris Wray into office. Chris Wray was the guy who signs off on the
that's
search
all
warrant at
another
Mar-a-Lago
subject. You
after he
pointed
gets
this out. The former FBI guy that ran the fake Russiagate, they brought him back. They're bringing back all the top enemies right now.
Okay, here's how crazy it is. This guy, I'm going to call him Janke because I don't know how to pronounce his name. I don't know if the J is a H or whatever else. But Janke, who's out he's a special agent in charge in Phoenix. Okay, he was brought back into the FBI on the recommendation of a guy named Aaron Tapp. Aaron Tapp was removed by Kash Patel because he was the deputy assistant director at Criminal Investigations while they were doing Arctic Frost. So everybody got all up in arms. Oh, they're spying on these Republicans. They're going out and getting the phone records and all this kind of thing. They got rid of Aaron Tapp. Meanwhile, Aaron Tapp's buddy, who got kicked out of the FBI for sleeping with a colleague who was married to a cop in the town and had to leave because of adultery. He was also married at the time. And that's one of those big no-nos in national security. If you're willing to cheat on your spouse, then we pretty much can assume that you'll cheat on the country, because if you'll lie to the person that you owe your life to and that you're supposed to be, sworn and wedded to, well, like, why would you care about this nebulous concept of America? This is one of the reasons that they actually look for adultery, is because Robert Hansen was flagged for that. So they always look for sort of marital infidelity as an indication of national security threats. This guy had to leave the Bureau, and he left. Then he got brought back in because Aaron Tapp said so. They kicked out Aaron Tapp, and now they're promoting him to be the top guy in the Criminal Investigation Division. The FBI has never been reformed. It is undefeated at the middle level, where all the people who run it. So when this looks like a complete shit show, and that's what it looks like to me, when I read these things and all the stuff that they dumped out there, and they've been acting like there was nothing, and they made Thomas Massie go and put through the Transparency Act, all of this stuff ends up falling down on one person at the end of the day. It falls down on Donald Trump, who is theoretically the chief executive in this country. And you can blame it on Bondi, and you can blame it on Blanche, you can blame it on Patel, and you can blame it on Bongino. You can blame it on all the people that have been the delegated managers that were meant to handle it. But at some point, the buck has to stop with the chief executive.
You remember like 11 months
to
ago,
go down.
They came out and said, oh no, there's no new victims, there's no new files. And I went, that's Trump. And remember, he got mad at me, and 2 days later he goes, no, it is me. And I know they put fake stuff in, it's Russiagate for him, it's a hoax on him, but it doesn't matter. Now by him doing this, he makes himself by extension. What do you think the FBI was thinking when they released 3 million files, which I guess a Herculean task, and they didn't know hundreds of emails about buying children, hundreds of emails, from him about sending blood product through the mail to rich people? I mean, they don't know.
Some people knew.
Well, so I mean, because this is all the well-known stuff.
Somebody put that in the file, Alex. Somebody serialized that document. Somebody captured those emails and made them part of it, whether it was a search record or a subpoena.
Sure, but I'm saying that points against a cover-up. That points against a cover-up. Or are they so confident they control the corporate media that none of that will get covered? Because I'm telling you right now, I keep searching during the break. There's no corporate media picking up. Why are there thousands of references to beef jerky? Why are there hundreds of references to him buying children, him himself, with women saying, hey, he didn't pay me the full amount? Well, okay, but that really wasn't the deal. And I'll show these in a minute. I mean, this is sensationally evil stuff.
There are multiple tiers of what's happening here. Number one was there was an investigation, and we don't have transparency on what that investigation was about, what they uncovered, what the final result was. The odds of it being politically stifled is very high. Now, who did it and when? That also should be part of the story, because what we're finding out is that the emails that went back and forth between Patel and Bondi, they were not included in this tranche of documents that were released. So there were, the mainstream media is doing their own kind of meta coverage, going like, hey, we're missing some parts to it. What we're missing also is the context of what was done, why, how they were gathered, and what they were attempting to prove. And then the question is, were they presented to the United States Attorney's Office? Which ones? Why did the United States Attorney's Office think that there wasn't enough to pursue an actual indictment somewhere? Why did they discontinue the prosecution?
Exactly. The corporate media is only focusing on are the politicos covering their ass instead of who covered up the crimes. And then larger, we hear there's 3 million more files, Kyle.
There may be tons of it. And so that's part one. So part one is the actual case as it was run by the people that were trying to get to the bottom of whatever was going on. And I don't have any reason to think that those people were operating in bad faith because I don't know them. So let's go by default that generally speaking, people who work in the FBI on the case agent level are not political activists, not generally that get assigned a task and then they do it sort of diligently. And to greater or lesser competencies, they're attempting to find out what the answers are to the questions that are presented in, we have an investigation. Was this federal crime actually committed? And is there evidence to support us going to prosecution? That's what they do. Okay. And there's not real politics necessarily involved in that. Then you get to the political level. And the political level is well, can we continue on with this? Can we actually do this presentation to the United States Attorney? And are they willing to go out there and present it to a grand jury? Is there actually evidence of the crime? And if so, are we willing to go out there and take whatever that hit is? Are we going to let it happen? Is Main Justice going to let it happen? And that's another question, because there's plenty of examples of things that happened under the Biden administration that got squashed. Per what I was told, whether it be about Hunter, whether it be about Jim Biden, the brother, and other things, it was like, nope, they're not going to do that.
You're going through all the minutia of it, and I agree with you.
All I'm saying is there's multiple levels of the so-called cover-up, because first is the actual investigation. Second is the presentation to actually move it into a prosecution. And then came the real op, which is what people are now sort of like getting spun on. We're missing the real levels of what the hell happened. And we're stuck in the area of why were these things redacted and who was in charge of that? Well, as far as I understand it, the person who ran the redaction program is a woman named Shannon Perry. And you don't hear her name in the media, and it's only being talked about by me and a couple of people that were in the FBI. But Shannon Perry was the special assistant for operations under Chris Wray under the last administration. And she's not an FBI agent. She's not a sworn law enforcement officer. She was a German linguist that came in just after 9/11.
Let's be clear. We have still the Democrat Party operatives, just like we had Comey and his daughter, still in control as gatekeepers.
They all work there.
Yeah.
Alex, all the people that were every single person that is a manager of any sort of seniority in the FBI got there under either Comey or Wray still. And I'm going to keep beating on that drum because it's true.
So let me ask you this question, because I know you're an expert in all the minutiae and it's important people to hear, but big picture, just as a dad, just as an American citizen, as a veteran, the political fallout of this, if Trump thought Epstein was a problem, it's 10 times worse now. This has completely exploded. The Democrats are celebrating. They're diverting it all into the DOJ cover-up. When we have the holy grail of all these top Democrats involved in money laundering and human trafficking, if he had a DOJ would do his job, they'd all go to jail. He has them by the balls. So, but instead, they've got him by the balls now for the cover-up. And it's all, so how does Trump extricate himself, or is it too late?
Might be too late. I mean, I think there's a lot of people. He's decided that his option is to attack Tom Massey. That's what it looks like. Like that's what is that's the advice that someone gave him. Which only makes him look 10 times more guilty. It makes him look very guilty. The guy who out there, you don't have to like Tom Massey, but I do. At the end of the day, Tom Massey did what? He and Ro Khanna pushed forward the Epstein Transparency Act. You only got a couple of people from the Republican side of it, and then the Senate overwhelmingly pushed it through, and then Trump signed it. So, Trump can say, hey, I signed it because I believe in the principle of it, but all he keeps doing is say, why are we not moving on from this? It's not going to go away because it represents something that is wholly scandalous to the American psyche, to regular people that are not interested in politics. They don't care about left or right. What you're trying to say with the idea that let's move on from this is that there should not be public accountability for very wealthy people who experience a different system of justice than you or even me or whatever else.
This has become the total litmus test. And now they just have.
We know that there's two tiers of justice, Alec. We know that there's two tiers of justice. What this thing has done is it's shown people that not only are there two tiers, but we're going to tell you about it. We're going to spit in your face, and we're going to tell you there's nothing you can do about it. Because even if they pass a law to show all the stuff, we're still going to cover the names of the people that were involved in things that are weird. Or they could have given context to it and explained why they redacted them and how they actually found exculpatory information, found out the things that you think they are not really there, or these were fake emails, or they're placed there by somebody.
You're on
so
fire,
all those things could be true. They didn't do any of those things. They failed to get ahead and actually control any of it. So now it's just you and me speculating.
Well, I want to come back. A lot has developed since you were just on. They just had Ghislaine Maxwell testifying secret. The Democrats just came out and saying Trump's at the center of a cover-up. I have not gotten into Laurene Powell jobs and what's happening there. I've not gotten into the buying babies. We'll be right back. Stay with us. I'm here to announce a new, extremely exciting product at thealexjonesstore.com, and that's Mind Fuel. Brought to you by the same folks that developed Optimal Human. This is an Optimal Human product. We set out with our sponsor, Bigley, to come out with a clean, nootropic energy shot that doesn't have any letdown, but gives you clean energy. This stuff is so strong, though, I take half a shot in the morning. It's a big shot. And another half in the afternoon if I need to work late. But again, you can still sleep on it because it's not a traditional stimulant. So if you loved Optimal Human, the strongest, best, super nutrient-packed green drink out there, available right now at thealexjonesstore.com, you are going to love Mind Fuel. And when I go through these ingredients, go research these for yourself and then know, when you find out how great they are, that we have the very best and the very strongest in this product, Mind Fuel, available right now at thealexjonesstore.com. Nootropic Mind Fuel is here. This clean, caffeine-free energy shot is designed for clear thinking, steady focus, and zero compromise. It's time to abandon sugary energy drinks and stimulant-heavy formulas in favor of clean, functional, nootropic-based energy. 0 calories, sugar-free, benefit, no crash, no blood sugar spike. Advantage can be used daily without guilt, and it's good for your whole body, not just your brain. Caffeine-free formula, smooth, clean energy. Advantage, ideal for caffeine-sensitive users and late-day use. Nootropic Alpha GPC, Citrulline, DMAE, GABA. Benefit, supports mental clarity and focus. Advantage, competes with premium brain formulas in a convenient shot. And the best part is, it's an adaptogenic and herbal proprietary blend. Balanced, grounded energy. Advantage, appeals to both biohackers and holistic consumers. And then it's got high-quality electrolytes and a spectrum of high-quality B. If you love our other products, thealexjonesstore.com, you are going to love Mind Fuel. And if you haven't tried our Ultramethylene Blue or our Shilajit or Irish Sea Moss or our Bovine Colostrum, you're crazy. These are all incredible products. Get your Mind Fuel now at thealexjonesstore.com and help keep us on the air while empowering your life. All right, folks, we're 2.5 hours into the show. You notice I'm not even plugged, which is how we fund the operation, because I'm too freaked out. I don't even have the energy for that, because my brain's been working so fast and looking at all this and going through all this, and I've got a lot of context and backstory on this, and I can see where this is going to go, and this is just Trump handing total victory to our enemies, incredible self-inflicted wound, incompetence, corruption inside the administration, and the Democrats, that if you actually look at this, it's all them, but instead it's all about the cover-up. This is the most horribly handled thing I've ever seen. And, you know, there's a lot of I don't give a damn stuff out of Trump, and, you know, maybe it all works out. I just know that the confirmed stuff in here, we haven't even scratched the surface on, is so horrible. And the fact that we're not learning the names of who these people are. And, you know, the Democrats, they're now able to go and look at this. The Republicans are. The Democrats are going to go pick and choose and try to find a few Republicans to embarrass. And if there's something bad, I'll be on their ass. I'll call for their arrest immediately. But the Democrats are so energetic, you know that if the Republicans would just go down there and go look up, like MTG said, pizza, you know, babies, jerky, because I have this stuff, but the names are blacked out, and you know who it is because you can already figure it out from other emails, and it's the leftist intelligentsia, just like in the WikiLeaks. Man, they're almost all of them are into Aleister Crowley, almost all of them are into pedophilia. And it's not like there aren't some Republicans have been caught doing that too, but I mean, these people are really as evil as they look and they act. And to watch this, because this will destroy Trump. It'll destroy his legacy for sure. This will lose the Congress. And you got the white pillars that just worship Trump and just say, shut up, it's trillion D chess. And yeah, you'll see. Unfortunately, I'm right. And then you've got the doomers that think everything's screwed, just go ahead and get Democrats in. This is a nightmare scenario. So Kyle Servin's with us. He's really smart. He goes over all the facts. And he's like, too much coffee, man, even worse than I used to be, which is fine. He's a smart guy. He wants to explain it all to you. But I want to walk through this now in big pieces with him because this just broke. So, yeah, Ghislaine Maxwell today, she said she was going to take the fifth the whole time. But we're hearing from House Oversight Democrat Representative Stansbury that it's Trump and that there are more than 36 associates, family members, and individuals directly associated with Trump in those files. And that's it. It's not Trump, but it's his people. Though they're not even a big part of it, it's still there. And we now know from some of that's come out that even stuff that's not illegal, that Trump doesn't want out there. The United States government is engaged in an active cover-up of the largest sex trafficking scandal and influence peddling scandal in the history of the United States, and Donald Trump was right at the center of it. So we'll play what you had to say, but imagine this. The Democrats have controlled the files, even when Trump was in. That's come out. They've had it all, but because of horrible communications, terrible PR, Trump doesn't ever come out and say that. He just says, it's a hoax, don't look at it. I mean, it's like Bongino. Don't question me, you're all nothing. I know everything, you're all pathetic. I've lived a life, you've done nothing. I would say that if I wanted to commit political suicide. And it's like, why are they all committing political suicide? And then the Democrats, who are the really guilty ones, go free and get to be the heroes. It's unbelievable. Here's the Congresswoman. We'll get Kyle Servin's take on it.
We know that there are more than 36 associates, family members, and individuals directly associated with Donald Trump named in those files. Now, there are now at least 9 or 10 other countries across the world that have opened investigations or forced their leaders to step down because of their mere association with Jeffrey Epstein. And the United States government is engaged in an active cover-up of the largest sex trafficking scandal and influence peddling scandal in the history of the United States, and Donald Trump is right at the center of it. And the person who is living to provide the evidence, who knows what is going on, is trying to invoke the Fifth to buy her clemency.
That's all said authoritatively. A lot of that's deception. Trump should be ordering the release of the Wiener laptop that we know is beyond Epstein. But no, instead, he's just paralyzed. Call Seraphin.
Yeah, well, what does the word associated even mean? I mean, all these things are just, they're, it's this internet game of playing like you're connected to or you've been associated with. I get these all the time. People have told me I'm associated with General Flynn. I've met General Flynn for about 90 seconds. I shook his hand. He didn't know who I was. You know what I mean? But it's like, I knew somebody or I met somebody one time that knew General Flynn, so now I'm associated with General Flynn. And I don't even know what the implications of that were. I just see these things out there. This is the same kind of crap. So here's the problem. They're acting like Donald Trump is at the center of a cover-up. Well, there is a cover-up of some kind that's going on. And it's clearly happening because there was a crappy rollout of a bunch of information, which is too much for any person to handle. None of us can handle 3 million files. The people who gathered those files could. They could tell you why they're there, and they could at least put it into bite-sized pieces of understanding. But that's not what happened. What we got was they came out specifically under one man's purview. Donald Trump's the president. He's the chief executive. In theory, even though I don't think in practice, he should be the one in charge of the DOJ, and therefore he should also be the one where the buck stops with the FBI. That's not the reality of it, but that is who they're going to pin it on. So that's what they're saying. And we already had, 9 hours plus a full transcript and a whole sort of interview and proffer session that Todd Blanche did with Ghislaine Maxwell. And she got moved into nicer quarters afterwards. And that was kind of weird and interesting. And the question was, is someone going to suicide her? Is she going to end up dying? Or is she going to end up being pardoned? Which was a big question that people were asking. And she had nothing to say but nice things about Donald Trump, which is a smart move. Because Donald Trump theoretically is the guy who could pardon her. He could give her the clemency. Well, why was she convicted in the first place? And what other information was all involved in this stuff? And it's like they went after Jeffrey Epstein, both as a guy who was involved with underage prostitutes, was the claim in 2008. Again, under who? Donald Trump's administration. Was any of the stuff released under Biden? No. What? So when I look at these people saying associated and cover up and even the mere name, that doesn't fly for me. What flies is evidence and context.
Sure,
and
but what I'm saying is,
they failed dramatically.
They failed.
So
what's going to happen now? I mean, you agree this firestorm is going to be incredibly bad?
Yeah, and Trump is handling this. I don't know who's advising him, and I don't have any skin in the game. If Trump wins or doesn't win or succeeds or doesn't succeed, I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent who wants to see the country move to the right, like an actual right wing, which we don't have right now. And so the right way. Really simple. Stop attacking Tom Massey for trying to do transparency. Stop going after MTG. Don't be mad at Rand Paul of all people. Like, you want to control this, then get out there and make the FBI do what they should have done in the first place, which is explain it. Make the people that are involved in this stuff. And by the way, how about you gut the FBI and gut anybody that's in the DOJ that screwed this thing up?
I agree, Kyle.
That gave bad information to whether it be Todd Blanche or gave bad information to Pam Bondi. Who the hell's briefing these people? Well, because when you choose your briefers or the briefers get chosen, those are the people that are running the game. If you don't have the ability to read all 3 million files, Alex, and you don't, and I don't, and the president doesn't, and neither does Bondi, and neither does Patel, then the people that are presenting you, this is what it means, and this is what they're shading around the edges, and they're kind of ignoring, those people are the ones that are crafting what comes out of the mouths of the people that are going to be responsible. So the buck should roll right downhill. Like, think about this. If you presented something to your boss and your boss looked like a fool because he didn't have all the information, you gave him a bad presentation, you gave him bad numbers, he went in front of shareholders or something, and then you got crucified, would you keep your job if you were a shit analyst? You wouldn't, unless you work for the federal government, in which case you probably get promoted and you get covered and you're fined. And so all those people have been fined for many, many years.
Sure,
and they all agreed to work under the previous
but let me move into some other issues here then, because I want to pick your brain. I know what happens. This has been going on for a year. A bunch of people have been in the meetings. When people bring up Epstein, Trump goes, I'm not in there. I didn't do any of it. I'm the one that got him in jail the first time. I don't want to effing hear about it. And so what you have is, I don't give an F. Well, yeah, but his idea is he doesn't care. So it's going to get bad. But going to your previous point, I started seeing last week, Jones is in the Epstein files. And I knew like a year ago it came out that people were saying, hey, Jones is talking bad about you, saying you're going to go to prison. Okay. And he goes, yeah, that crazy guy. Then I found like 15 other emails, all of them not liking me. But you can say Jones is in the Epstein files, but notice they don't show that to you. They just innuendo, like, ooh, Jones is in there.
I mean, there's videos of Tucker Carlson in the Epstein files, but they're from his Fox News show. So you can have somebody in a file. The question is what is the context and why was it in there? And why did the agent think that was relevant to include as like a 1B and put it into the evidentiary form? Why? And this is what's missing. This is the entirety of it. And Donald Trump saying, I don't care about this, or I already handled this, or this is some old news. That doesn't work. He's already seen it. He's been trying to run away from it for 9 months to a year, and it's ineffective. So at some point, if your tactics are not successful, you're going to have to turn around and own it. And the only way you do that, and the only way you break through any of this stuff is actual transparency, where people think, okay, now they're being square with us. And it shouldn't be about whether or not people are in the files or quote unquote associated with anyone. It should be theory of the case, what people did bad things, why were they not prosecuted? Did we miss the statute of limitations? If so, who said don't go on? Where are the declination letters from the prosecutors?
Shouldn't Trump let them create an independent commission? Because if he has nothing to hide, he needs to hand off responsibility so they can't keep claiming he's covering up.
That'd be great. Yeah, special counsel, special committee, hand it all off. Let somebody who does it for a living go through it. How do you pick the people that are involved in that? Find people that are otherwise, you're going to have to make it bipartisan. It's going to have to be people that are otherwise that are disinterested in anything national politics wise and don't want to gain anything out of it. But sure.
Well, you and I both said Trump trying to sweep us under the rug because he sees this distraction wasn't going to work. We've been proven right. He's just going to double down. But what you just find there is insanity. I'm not saying Trump's insane, but the definition
but doing the same thing and expecting something different to happen.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy, Alex? I actually had Erica Knight, who's the personal PR person, spokesperson for Kash Patel and has been for years. Erica Knight is a special employee of the FBI under some weird contract or something like that. And she asked me before Patel got sworn in, right before the confirmation. And she said, how do we handle this Epstein situation? What would you do? What's your advice? And I go, well, I don't know all the things that are involved, but this is what I would do. I would grab a bunch of agents that have a lot of experience in white collar fraud. I'd want some that are involved in, transnational organized crime, because that seems like it's part of it. Maybe 1 or 2 CI agents that understand the national security implications of it. And then people who deal with, child pornography and child sex crimes. I would get those agents together and a handful of analysts, and I would look at them based on their body of work and their lack of political involvement, and I would sequester them. And I would write off all of the requirements the FBI normally does to bother you with all kinds of nonsense. Like, oh, you have this requirement to watch this training and learn whistleblower training.
What about put together a task force? A task force.
That's what I said. I said, put them in Idaho, put them outside of the circuit, put them away from Washington, D.C., away from New York City, away from where all the politics are, and sequester them somewhere where they can do a TDY for however long it takes. And just tell people, we're getting to the bottom of this. We're going to go through all of it with fresh eyes, with people that are otherwise uninterested. We're going to get some prosecutors from the DOJ, some AUSAs that are going to be assigned to this task force as well, and they will follow wherever it leads. And they will personally run down the leads instead of sending it out to some field office and wonder what agent's doing it. It's so easy.
It's probably 100 people in here that are obviously trafficking kids. So this is not that, because and then you got money laundering, you got all sorts of stuff.
Alex, they do this with regular street gangs every single day. There is what's called RICO investigations. There are what are called Talk West or Talk East, transnational organized crime. The FBI is actually really good at doing long-term, complex, sort of large-scale investigations. This is like where their bread and butter is. Mapping out what is the nature of the crime and the conspiracy, who's at the top, who's at the bottom, what are the foot soldiers, how do we attack all of that stuff? And if you got nothing to distract you and your priorities were just come back to us with answers. And you know what's crazy? After I told Erica this stuff, she came back to me with a press release within about 90 minutes of having that conversation. And she was like, here's the press release. What do you think? And I went, no, you can't release something that you're not actually already doing. Like, find the people, assign them to the thing. You want to tell people you have a press release, you better have actually done the task force. Don't just announce the task force. And this is where Trump has gotten himself into trouble. It's not specifically Trump, but this entire administration continues to send out PR messaging and think that is the victory. Announcing that we're doing something is the something, instead of actually going through and carrying on what they expected you to do. And this is what I keep seeing over and over again. It's a disaster because people actually listen to it. They read the headline and they want them to do it.
No, we know there's a disaster. We know it's being done wrong. And I'm not mad you're doing this, but you're kind of going back over that. I want to get your ideas on new stuff that's unfolding. Trump's not going to do any of that. Todd Blanche is totally arrogant. He blocked Ed Martin and everybody else for doing any investigations. The administration's paralyzed. where Trump has executive power, he's getting a lot of good stuff done. So it's paradoxical. I'm very happy he's there, but also this is going to end up destroying him and really destroying, hurting our populist movement. You're not going to be able to stop it. It's too organic and it's worldwide. But I mean, do you agree with that? And B, versus the
well, you and I talked about this the other day. You can be outstanding on foreign policy and you can make great decisions on the world stage that benefit the United States. And people used to make that argument about Nixon. I mean, that was the argument, that he was brilliant at it, that he understood what was going on. But he got caught up in a couple of domestic scandals, messaged them absolutely horribly, and everyone uses Richard Nixon as the person who was commensurate with an absolutely failed presidency, right? He goes down as being a crook. That's the famous thing that people think about, whether or not he was capable and whether or not he was sabotaged from the inside, which he probably was. So you can be great at some things, but the one thing that Americans regularly look at and they expect you to do is affect things positively if you say them. Trump's worst characteristic, and I don't know how he got away with it for so long in the way that he did, because it's really unique. It's an unusual sales tactic. And you've done sales and I've done sales. Usually the best way to do sales is you underpromise, you overdeliver, and you overwhelm the customer with an experience and getting, you know, more than they paid for and make them feel really great about it. Donald Trump does this other weird thing, which is not common, and maybe it's only in the highest end of sales, where he overpromises, underdelivers, and then he tells people, you got a great experience and you know you did, and look how amazing it is, and everybody wants what you have, and then people somehow feel good about it. That doesn't actually work on a lot of things, though, like where gas prices are or the inflation that goes on in this economy and the basic stuff, because our economy has gone on a K-shape. And there's plenty of different articles I read every single day that basically says people who have above average incomes are doing okay and people who have below average incomes are not feeling good. So you're giving ground to Democrats to say, he said he was here for the working class. He said he was here for the blue collar. He said he was here for the guys that have calluses on their hands that are working their fingers to the bone. And he's not. And by the way, he's also covering up for pedophiles and child sex traffickers. And everyone goes, rah! And so then you're going to have a loss. You're going to have some people that walk away totally and just go, nothing you can do. I saw a really great video that was on social media where a guy said, basically, we outsourced the revolution in this country. Which there was a revolutionary fervor in 2024 before the election, where people were talking about civil war in a really meaningful way. They were talking about a national divorce. They've been talking about it for the last 4 years. There was this like pent up aggression from COVID and from all the crazy stuff that happened and the censorship and the lockdowns and government overreach.
The guy in the sleeveless shirt with the black shirt that says lions not sheep.
Yeah, lions not sheep. Yeah, and what does he say? He says, we outsourced the revolution to one man. Which is a dangerous thing to do. I mean, like putting your faith in man is always a dangerous move. But human beings always tend to want this king. Like, will someone solve our problems? We're willing to cede agency if you'll just solve them, especially if you say that you can do it. And Donald Trump did. I mean, I've got Agenda 47 sitting on my desktop at all times, and I open it and I refer to it. And he gets like a C- on there. Because some of the stuff he did, 100%. He shut down the border. He went after some of the other stuff. But like some of the things he couldn't do, and some of the things I see that he's failed, and it's not on his own end because he never was going to be the guy that could do it. Like fixing weaponized government means you have to understand what the government does. You got to get people in there that are going to go out there and cut it down. And a Susie Wiles and a Pam Bondi and a Todd Blanche and apparently Kash Patel, those are not people that are going to stop weaponized government. And so, yeah, we outsourced the revolution. It didn't something for probably 100 years, and Donald Trump didn't start this train, and he's probably not going to be the last stop on the train. But he's going to get the blame
for it. He better know.
But he's going to catch the blame for it. That's it, because they're going to do the declassification. They're going to show all these files, and who's in charge right now? He's going to be that guy that catches it, even though the previous administrations could have declassified and didn't, could have exposed all the stuff and didn't. The guy who went kicking and streaming into it, and it looks terrible, right? It looks bad to resist it and say that this is done, and are we still talking about Epstein? People can't get over the three things: abusing kids, the sex trafficking of kids and abusing them sexually, and then this two-tiered system of justice where people that are really wealthy don't have to experience
it's worse
the
than
rest
that.
of it.
It's emblematic that they can't be trusted.
It's the satanic stuff.
And it's saying we have it, he rapes hundreds of kids, they're all going to jail, and saying I never said that. It's also insulting our intelligence. But moving on from there, because I want some other big topics here.
Well, let me throw one more thought to you, Alex, because it went broader, and you started the last hour with it, and it's really relevant. Something about societies and civilizations running down to like satanic worship. You know, it's inevitable, and it always happens, and it's biblical, and it's a cycle of humanity. So we're living through something that has been done many, many times. There's nothing. I mean, it starts from the Garden of Eden, which my wife and I were talking about earlier. It's the sin actually, and this is kind of interesting. This is relevant to Donald Trump's scenario right now. The sin was not that Eve took a bite of the apple. which was directly like following the words of the devil, right? The sin is that man, Adam, went along with it. And then he didn't take responsibility. He tried to blame it on the woman. God's like, hey, man, you got things out of order here. This is the mistake. That's when man was thrown out of the Garden of Eden. And you don't have to believe that story literally to know that the truth of it is there is a big problem, because people can do things that are bad, but if you can't own it and take management of it, which is what we're seeing a failure of, then we're going to have this stray from God, which means we are headed for a biblical correction. And it's happened many times, and human beings will continue. It won't be the end of the world. It won't be the end of like everyone's life, but there's some hardship coming. Certainly for people that thought they were getting a return to something normal in America. And we're not going to get that.
And now let me add this. It's beyond rage. It's like a dirty feeling, which I hardly ever feel. I'm just so disgusted. The word's disgusted. The Democrats openly want pedophilia. They openly want to sexualize our children. They're part of the left worldwide that's just out in the open. And then Trump messes all this up. And then they get to look like the good guys and say we're the bad guys, and they get away with it. It's like it's just sick.
That is the trick that is played over and over again. This is the devil's trick. I mean, it's turning things. It's making you defend something that you didn't do wrong. It's always, and this is whether it be Saul Alinsky or you go all the way back through the Old Testament. This is a classic move of projecting, and then you end up on the defensive when maybe you didn't do anything wrong. Now, I have no idea what Donald Trump did or didn't do, and there's too many files there for me to get into. But what I do know is that they messaged it poorly, and they didn't take ownership of it, and that there's no heads rolling inside this government. And what I do know is we got the Democrats caught in the most horrible stuff ever, and there's not even discussion about other than the show. Right. Nobody is talking about the stuff that you were reading in those emails. What we're talking about is whether or not Lutnick had a nanny that got hired because there's an email somewhere that says the Lutnick nanny between Epstein and some unknown person. Who knows why or what the context is, or even if it's the same Lutnick. So it's smear, it's association. They're carrying a lot of water with certain words that we saw. And some of those things may turn out. Like she said, family members. Well, how close and how specific? Like current family? Like what does family members even mean? You know, I've got family members that I haven't spoken to a brother in 9 years. If you did something, I got nothing to do with it.
If you got to go, you got to go to your own show that you didn't do earlier. I want to now with you go through these new emails, because I didn't even hit the stuff I've already covered. I've got a whole bunch of new stuff. I want to get you as a former FBI agent, a really smart guy. People think I talk fast. In the old days I did. This guy's brain moves quick. He knows what he's talking about. And I know a lot of stuff and I can barely follow it. So sometimes like, you need to slow down there. It's not that people are dumb, but it's a little over their head. All these, I mean, I don't know how to read these files. I had to call them and say, what's this code mean? Am I right about that? Yeah, you're right about that. It's kind of simple stuff, but also hard because you're having to read so much too. And you're just like, then I go check and see if it is real. And it's like, and it keeps being real on the file. And I just get worse and worse. Stay right there. We'll come right back to you. Because I want to hit the trafficking kids and more on the beef jerky. And I haven't hit the other stuff. I mean, there's just so much I can't believe.
How much are the people that took all the flack for Pizzagate and everything else like that? Like, how many of them are just like having conniption fits right now, reading the same thing and seeing? I punched it.
Oh no! They're doing victory laps. People we know are involved and saying Trump's a pedophile. The pedophiles love this. And Anna Kasperi and all of I remember them all attacking me, saying none of it's real. I'm completely insane. And now they're the big heroes up talking about it. But they're only talking about Lutnick.
Right. This is, again, when you let somebody else craft the narrative, you let somebody else, if you try to avoid that full transparency. There is I've been reading a bunch of stuff that Serpico said, Frank Serpico, the police officer out of New York, right? And a lot of the stuff he says is that you can just measure, like the weapon of whistleblower and the weapon of cutting through corruption is transparency. Not fake transparency, actual transparency to get to the actual answer without an agenda. It's like the truth is going to be the truth. It's going to hurt some people. It's going to burn some people. So be it. It's going to taint some people just because they're associated with, even if they didn't do something terrible. Let's get it all out there. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. This is what you and I were talking about. We've been doing this for 9 months now, you and I. We've been talking about pull the Band-Aid off. And for whatever reason, whoever's advising them, they didn't do it.
Little ecosystems that spin off.
Yeah, the ecosystem allows people that are going to be nefarious actors to shape it on their own side. They get you derailed by certain little side arguments. Now you got a lady in Congress coming out and talking about associates and family members with no specifics. You always find that the devil hides in these details because they love to not give you specifics. They just say things that sound really scandalous.
Where that happened to me, but I want to hit these emails. I want to get an FBI agent, former FBI agent's take on them. I have not yet begun to fight. That's what the founder of the U.S. Navy John Paul Jones said back in 1779. And that's exactly where we are right now. You see this bad boy right here? That is a edition original InfoWars poster. We got about 1,000 that are unsigned, 500 that are signed, and that's it. And it is the final Hail Mary to keep InfoWars on the air. We've sold out of almost every product at InfoWarsStore.com. Via the bankruptcy, they won't let us order new products, but we were able to get this produced. This is an emergency fundraiser. It's myself, actual screenshot from the show, with a .357 Magnum aimed at the globalist, the truth gun, with John Paul Jones, the founder of the U.S. Navy, saying, "I have not yet begun to fight." And 1997 to 2026, how long InfoWars survived. Hopefully we go past that with my signature. This is a limited edition poster, signed or unsigned. It goes to keep us on the air. They're going to have an auction. They're saying in January. They already had a federal auction that was rigged and fake, and the judge shut it down. This is a state auction. Good guys are going to try to buy InfoWars. We'll stay on air as InfoWars if they're successful. If they're not, we move on to the Alex Jones Network. But regardless, we don't have funds coming in December and January. There won't be money for payroll. There won't be money for the bandwidth or the servers or the satellites. So it's absolutely essential you get this. And if we get shut down, you have a memento of the final resistance at InfoWars that is so historic to hang on your wall. And there's not just this poster. We've made 1,000 of these two other posters that I designed as well. One says, "Defend the West, 1997, 2026, InfoWars," with the archetypal Knight of the West standing against the globalist. There's another, "Make no peace with evil," with another Knight of the Crusades standing with the cross in his hand against the globalist tyranny. Both are powerful posters as well. These are limited edition. You can get signed copies if you really want to support us, or just get the regular posters as well if you want to support us. But all three of these posters are limited edition, right now exclusively available at InfoWarsStore.com. This is historic. We've come so far together. The deep state spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to shut us down. We still got a chance to win. But if we don't have the funds coming in December and January, we will shut down. So I want to thank you all for your past support. I want to encourage you now to go to InfoWarsStore.com, where everything else is sold out. And there's no more funds to buy more stuff to keep us on the air. And just by attrition, they will win and shut us down by not having money for payroll if you don't decide to bail out this organization that has had incredible results against the tyrants and has stood for you and your family and all of us collectively. So take action now and get the iconic limited edition "I have not yet begun to fight" Alex Jones poster, and "Make no peace with evil" and "Defend the West" posters, limited edition. And know, historically, you stood with the tip of the spear at the key part of this fight, and we never gave up, and we never surrendered, and we stood and fought on our feet instead of groveling on our knees as slaves. Thank you so much. I've fired the bat signal. Thank you for all your past support, but now is the critical time to take action at InfoWarsStore.com for these 3 limited edition iconic posters. The ball's in your court. Take action now at InfoWarsStore.com. It's now up to you. This is a short segment. Long segment's coming up. I'll get into the new emails. They're old, but they've just come out. But I'll tell a few stories when Kyle was just saying that I remembered. Because when I was growing up, I wasn't bad like drugs or stealing. But I got a lot of fights, and we lived in a nice area in Dallas, but it was by the bad area, and the school was, mixed poor and wealthy, and a lot of fights. And it was rough compared to, what kind of modern stuff. I don't like the nanny state, but I'm kind of glad things aren't as violent in general at schools as they were in the 80s. But I remember there was a kid lived down the road, and I knew his brother. We played some, did some stuff together. But one time I went to their house, they go, "Look, I stole this gun out of the neighbor's car." And I didn't say anything. And his older brother's like, "You better not say we stole that gun." And I went, "Okay." And then like a year later, the police come to the house, knock. They don't have a warrant, but they say, "We hear there's a gun hidden under your porch." There was like this crawl space. My dad says, "Sure, go ahead and look." They pull the gun out. They figured out that the kid had lied and ended up going and he ended up, he got on probation. But the point was, why would you then steal a gun and plant it at my house? Another time, I had a couple years of high school here, a couple years there. I was a freshman in high school, and I wasn't like a bad guy, but I had some friends that kind of gotten into drugs and stuff, and they were like riding around their pickup truck or something, and they were like, I guess once they tell you something, they think, oh, I can't trust him. I think that's how it works. I don't know. He knows the criminology better than I. They're like, yeah, you love this big boom box. I'm like, actually, it makes me sick. That was cool to crank up the rapper loud, boom, boom. And I'm like, hey, I don't want to do this. Yeah, we stole this out. Such. About a month later, cops call me into the principal's office. Cop sitting goes, Alex, we heard you stole these boom boxes out at Happy Country. And I went, I don't even like boom boxes. What are you talking about? I don't even have a car yet. And they're like, okay, well, whatever. But the point was, and there was another case of something like that. What is that in criminology where somebody tells you about a crime, like they're bringing you into it, you don't tell on them, and then they tell on you? Are they like setting you up, or what is that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess people want to share something. This is another one of these toilet books that I remember. They said anytime that we're asking for advice, we're looking for an accomplice. And I think that's what's going on. People are looking for someone to share the burden, the blame. Nobody wants to carry. This is why criminals get caught all the time. They confess to somebody. It happens all the time. It happens frequently. This is actually the reason I think why they build it into the Catholic Church, so people can confess to somebody that's actually supposed to hold on to it. The secret of the confessional is something that's supposed to be sacred, because people carry around guilt with them and they don't want to be the only one who knows, or they're proud of it. I mean, that's the other piece of it, Alex, is pride, right? People get really proud of doing something and they don't want to be the only one, that knows that they pulled this thing off. Heist, caper, theft. It's like, I got to share it with you so you also can know how great I am. And so, yeah, people do this all the time. But here's the other thing. This is what I'm thinking. Principal calls you in, one thing, now we found a gun underneath you. Now you've been accused of stealing a boombox. Now you get, you're running with this crowd. At some point, people go like, Alex has never done this thing, if they're being honest about it. And yet you've been accused of, and you've been in the company of those people. So we get judged by the company we keep. That's been happening forever.
No, and that's why my dad sold his dental practice when we moved here. He said, you're not even bad, but they think you're bad. We're leaving. That was
that's what happens.
Yeah.
That's what a good dad does too, is they go and they clean your reputation by they say, if you got to start over, you got to start over. I knew a guy who he got into, he was in the car when someone did a hit and run and actually killed somebody. And so he was forever stained in the area he was in Montana. And his dad his dad was a former Green Beret, picked up and moved him across the country. So he didn't grow up with that stain because he wasn't the guy driving. And he was traumatized by it. At the same time, the company you keep does define you, which is a lot of what they're trying to do in this Democrat sort of smear job. That's what it is. It's like you're associated with these people. Well, you don't have to have done anything bad to be associated with people. You can have neighbors who did scumbag things, and then you find out, you're like, yeah, I was his neighbor for 10 years. And they're like, oh, you must have known. Well, people keep secrets. This is what people do. Some people go and tell Alex Jones, I stole the gun and I put it underneath your porch. And some people keep that and they haunt it to their grave, and they don't find out until there's a search warrant and the FBI kicks down their door. And then you find out what kind of a demon they were living next door. And everyone always goes, man, he was always so quiet. And I would have never expected that. He really kept to himself. He was just kind of a quiet guy that you'd never expect that of. I mean, how many times have we heard that news story?
It's crazy. Back in 60 seconds with these emails. Well, I want to be very clear with everybody, because the media, I mean, it's everywhere. I see it on national news. I see, without even looking, it's just all the big podcasts. It's the thing to do because they see me as a Trump supporter. They're like, oh, and Jones is involved in this because he's been saying he doesn't really see Trump implicated in any real way. But I've been pissed the whole time, that it looks like a cover-up. And I think it's overwhelmingly clear that's going on now. And I think it comes from Trump. But I don't have to prove myself. We've been saying that the whole time. We predicted this. And it's a real shame. But I want to ask Kyle Seraphin, former FBI agent and really smart analyst, talk show host, what he thinks should be done about this. Because, I mean, just look at these emails, okay? There's hundreds like this. So this is Jeffrey Epstein, the people talking. He says, you mean radiating a soft glow with the look of bliss and excitement. Yeah, that's the pizza. And then they're talking about how great it was. This is the head count for the pizzas. And they're setting up a pizza party, and the pizza's going to be there, but there's going to be 7 people. There's a bunch of emails. We got to share it. We got to slice this pizza. And it says, who all is in the Austin office today who is going to want pizza? We only have 1 slice, and we need to know how thinly to slice it. And it goes on Gurr. It's frozen food. Mark Lloyd is finance. This is from Jeffrey Epstein. Lyndon Lee is the mini CO 3-AO, whatever that means. Hyatt is sex slave. I mean, I have hundreds of these, okay? And then, we're walking the jerky up to supply it to you. And then we've got, I haven't had the real stuff yet, the hardcore stuff yet. There are literally hundreds of emails about buying babies. Can bring a little baby back for you or two, boys or girls. And this is Peggy Siegel, Jeffrey Epstein's publicist, saying, I'm coming back from Africa, you want kids. And just, guys, go to the DOJ website, type this in, you're on. These are all real, okay? It goes on and on. Women saying, okay, you bought the baby, now you're not wanting to pay, or you promised to buy the baby. Or women in police reports saying, yeah, he took our baby at Zorro Ranch. And breeding babies for Epstein. And it's in the Epstein documentaries. He bought Eastern European girls when they're like 10 and took them back. They still worked for him for decades. I mean, this is just baby trafficking at Zorro Ranch. And again, spoke to this going to Zorro Ranch. She said on record that Epstein offered her money to do this. And again, it goes on to supply. And again, then you have the police reports, FBI reports, then you have him talking about it. And it just goes on and on. An email said to Epstein 2013, you offered to buy my baby 6 months ago. He responds and says, yes, but not for the amount you said. I mean, this is just this is unbelievable, folks. This is unbelievable. Here it is right here. You offered to buy my baby 6 months into the relationship. And he goes, I've already paid you. So, and again, there's literally, in all these different areas, hundreds and hundreds on each one. But then you get back into the jerky. This is Jeffrey Epstein said he was going to start eating regular food again, so he might be eating less jerky. That said, he has 6 bags of it in the downstairs freezer for the next trip. I believe it should be enough to get him through. Any other questions, please let me know. And then the people he's talking to own restaurants called The Cannibal. And then, they're showing you how to make it at the ranch. They're showing you how to make it at the island. And then we're mailing it through the mail. These rich people really need it. Oh, my God, 6 ounces, so delicious. I mean, it's just, I have huge stacks of just this over here. Earlier, I spilled water on this by accident. Why didn't we get jerky this week? You said you could not do it. Until today, please explain. They complain you gave me cold jerky. I want hot jerky. Steve needs 6 to 8 ounces of jerky. That'll make it through. Sending it to the lab. His supposed wife, we're not sure if they were married. They think they were. That he had $300 million to. She's all over the jerky stuff. And then there's this. I'm gonna shut up. Give Kyle Surfer the floor on this. This is where I want to stay. Okay, this. Okay. The Atlantic is a CIA top globalist publication. It's like the Financial Times of London. What it says gets picked up. Jeffrey Goldberg came here like 14 years ago. He said he wanted to do a piece on me for it. Back then I still did interviews. He shows up after the show and he goes, I'm not here to put you in the magazine. I'm here for Obama and some other people to see if you're dangerous. And I'm sitting there in the conference room right there. And I'm just like, and so we talk about 2 hours. He goes, well, we'll see what we're going to do, but, maybe you ought to come to New York sometime. Maybe you ought to, he was trying to recruit me. And I said, listen, I'm not working for any group or any organization. And later, they got way clear years later where we're just kind of in the world at the time. Wanted me to have some meeting with, the big law firm. And they said, you're about to get sued and destroyed 9 years ago. You better do this. And I got sued right after I said no. So, it's gotten very clear before. But I mentioned Laureen Powell Jobs in the first 10 minutes. And Kyle, I'll show you this. Bing. Is this still your number? This is the Atlantic. We want to talk. So I mean, within 15 minutes of me talking about this, which I haven't gotten to yet, the phone starts ringing. And then I'm pretty sure when I get 3 unlisted numbers in a row, somebody else calls with that or blocked numbers. It's probably the White House, but I'll check later. Just a lot of stuff went on when I did that. Like one time I said, I'm going to reveal who Q is. This is like, 7 years ago because I was sick of it. All of a sudden, White House is calling because that was something they hatched at first, got taken away from, they got out of it. But the point is, Laureen Powell Jobs, overhead shot. So this is the wife and heir to the Apple. She's worth, $100 million, whatever it is. Here she is in her bathing suit. Went to the island many times on record. There she is with Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, here's the article they published 2 days ago. What everyone assumes about Jeffrey Epstein. They said, yeah, he was elitist, but there was no real elite. There's nothing to see there. Now, that's not as bad as stuff they wrote a few years ago in 2022, the great fake child sex trafficking epidemic. Now, they never mentioned the owner of the Atlantic is a big frequenter of the island and all the rest of it, or Jeff Goldberg and all his CIA Mossad. He used to run an Israeli torture prison. He said, well, we didn't torture. Okay, right. But the point is how dumb do they think we are that people aren't going to look this up, and how crazy within 15 minutes of me saying I was going to cover this, the Atlantic's calling. What do you make of that? Kyle Seraphin, thanks for sitting while I ranted.
No problem. This actually tells you that there is still some vestigial power in the mainstream media. And I think that's the thing that's hardest for guys like you and I to grasp. Because if I read something in CBS or NBC or ABC or MSNBC or New York Times or whatever, like the Washington Post, I immediately come at it from a skeptic perspective. I do that with everything. If you tell me something, Alex, I'm skeptical. That's just the way I am. If somebody tells me something and I'm like, oh, I want to believe that. That sounds like stuff that I would believe. My first move is like, why do I want to believe that? How do I question it? Can it be disproven? That's how a good investigator looks at things. In fact, the easiest way to prove your case is to try to find exculpatory information and come up empty. That's the way that you would do it. And I've done that before, and I've found things where I was like, oh, I thought this was really true. It looked really bad. The allegations were salacious. The information that I was presented is very credible, and it was bad. And then you find some exculpatory stuff, and you go, I just didn't have the entire picture. Sometimes when you zoom out enough, you can see it. So there is power in the Atlantic. There is power in these mainstream publications. There is power. There are people out there that think that I'm relevant today, and some of them are in my own family, like my wife's, my father-in-law, my wife's dad. Well, he'll be like, I saw you all over the New York Times. Like, that's cool to see your name or whatever. It's like, my name has been all over media for the last 3.5 years. It's always out there. Why is it interesting? Because it's the New York Times, and that's what he considers to be a credible source. And there are a lot of people that still look to these Atlantic and so on, and they can move the needle. They can move the needle dramatically. And so how stupid do they think we are? I think they're taking people at their actual word, which is that most people in America are headline readers only. Alex, they don't ever get deeper than that. They just don't. They read the headline, and that's the whole story. And if the headline is a clickbait headline and the story itself actually debunks the headline inside of it, they never even get there. And so this is the problem. This is the actual info war, named channel name that you guys came up with a long time ago. The info war is, can you convince people to distrust their own eyes? Can you tell people something that is utter BS that holds no gravity, and make them walk out and believe it and fight? I got a text message today, or not a text message, a DM from someone saying, Seraphin, you were removed for negligence from the FBI. And I was like, oh, really? I'm always curious when I see these things. I was like, tell me more. And they're like, you negligently handled a firearm. The records are all over the internet. And I was like, please post links. I do want to see these things. People will, I have no idea what the guy's referring to. The odds are it was like disgraced testimony from a woman who got removed from the FBI because she was a day drunk. That's what I think happened. But he truly believes that thing. I'm sure of it. And there are plenty of people that do. They read the headline. It was a fake sex trafficking ring. This has all been debunked. Everything about it was not real. The things that Alex Jones was talking about for years is garbage. And then you go and you see the actual emails released on the DOJ's website with no context, no understanding. We don't know what the hell they're talking about. Like, but we don't have any explanation. You didn't have the FBI's file, which should be like the serial that came along. It's like, we gathered these emails. These are the 50 references to jerky. We believe, based on all the information we've done, the interviews that we've done of the people that wrote them, that this is what it meant. This is how they explained it. But this is like the normal background. Here's what the intel analysts say about this type of operation, and it means children or human flesh, or it means adrenochrome, or whatever it means. Why do we not have that? Where's the other pieces of it? It's salacious to read somebody's emails. And by the way, as someone who used to read FISA, and it was like my least favorite part of my job, I used to read a Chinese spy's emails. So I would get the emails in my box and I could read them. And it's really salacious to find out what people are doing. And it's really curious. You read it and you're like, oh, what a weird thing that this person's life is all about. That's what people who are doing intelligence work do. They snoop in your stuff. But
yeah, well, I've
it's
talked to the
also
people
really
that have gotten
important
to
have
read
the context.
I've talked to people that have gotten to read Jack Smith's emails. They go, it's all open and shut, meeting with the White House, setting it all up, a fraud, but we're not allowed to use it. Thanks, Todd Blanche. So just imagine how frustrating it is to the real investigators.
Yeah, the people, like every single one of those emails is attached to a serial that an FBI agent wrote. And the FBI agent wrote it and explained, this is what we've got. Here's how we got it. You know, it was obtained by a search warrant and it was reviewed on this day by these people. And here's what we believe it to mean. And, you know, here's the quotes. And this is how it furthers our case. Or you could say, you know, we've investigated and upon further information, this appears to be a hoax. This appears to be fake. This appears, whatever it is. So all of these pieces of evidence were put in for a reason. Every one of these emails should have been looked at, reviewed, and then somebody said, okay, this is what it means or this is what it doesn't. And guess what? We know it was at least reviewed enough for them to redact the name of the people that did the sending.
Sure, so let me
or not
ask
to
you
receive
this.
it.
So let me ask you this. Well, the same question I asked you yesterday on the phone when I showed you that particular document that is confirmed real, the DOJ saying, yeah, we got people being abused, we got other people, we got this. They're obviously mixing it together. Presidents and former presidents and, you know, all this stuff, secretaries of state, we're going to redact that. And I asked you the question, I'm not a trained investigator, but I said, if they're a public figure and there's nothing to hide, then they should put it all in. The fact that they redacted their name and not the victim seems backwards.
Well, yeah, I agree with you on that as a general rule. The thing that's relevant in that particular thread, so the thread was, it was somebody asking for guidance, president, secretary of state, other people of celebrity or something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing. There's lots of examples of this on X. So that email thread then goes to another person who says, hey, bumping this up the chain. What it looks like is maybe a redactor or a case agent or somebody that's working at the ground level that's trying to say, okay, there's obviously some big names.
Yeah,
and
you
will
see it. They
have
throw a note on it and say, check it. So maybe they're not even saying doing that. They're just saying, check it.
What it seems like they're doing is it seems like they're saying we've come across all these things. So there's former president, secretary of state, blah, 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 all these people, right? All the dignitaries that we're talking about. How are we handling this?
Pull that up.
Because
the crew's doing an incredible job.
Because what I know is going on is that the people that are working on that redaction stuff, the people that are doing the grunt level work of producing these files, they didn't read the Epstein Transparency Act, and they don't know what sort of like the left and right boundaries are when it comes to, you know, what they can and can't do. So they're asking for guidance, and all it does is it confirms that there are those types of people in these files. To me, when I read it, I'm like, yeah, what it means is that there's secretaries of states and presidents and celebrities.
But regardless, Todd Blanche saying there are no bad guys. Yes. When we have all this stuff clearly. Well, let me ask you this: when you are reading, when you heard those emails, or me paraphrasing them quickly, and it goes on and on. I have stack after stack I didn't even get to. Either these are weird-ass space aliens with their own weird language, and it just so happens most of it goes back 15 years in FBI manuals of this is child porn, this is, you know, torture. A lot of it says it's torture. A lot of it says we got sex slaves. I mean, who goes around and talks like this? I mean, I think
nobody does. No, I'm 100% agreeing with you. Like that looks like it appears to be what it is that everybody would think it is. That they're talking about children, that they're talking about, you know, some I don't even know. Like, there's nobody that talks like that in any email. Like, I've read lots of people's emails. It turns out that's one of the things you get when you work as an investigator. I've read my own. I've read all I've never had conversations that ever looked anything like that, especially from people who have tons of money and are living elite lives and they can ask anybody to do anything for them. They don't even need to write their own emails, right? They've got secretaries and things like this. And these are their personal communiques, and they're full of that we know are coded languages for either child sex trafficking or abuse or for worse things. So all that makes me sick. The question is why don't we also get the accompanying deciphering that, because there clearly were people that were in the Bureau that saw the same thing. And they're not all going to have their head in the sand. Somebody read it and I'm like, okay, I know what this is. There are experts that work on this stuff.
You're already a huge, very vindicated whistleblower that exposed targeted Catholics and school parents and all that. And then you're a big hero to Bongio and everybody until they got in and they turned against you because they knew you were not going to go along with their BS. Obviously, they're like, this guy's a straight arrow. But now you become a clearinghouse because people know you're the real deal. There's been some other great whistleblowers as well. But I would expect we'd see a lot more whistleblowers. I think that's really the answer, too. It's just more men and women, not just in the FBI, but in public schools or colleges or medical field. You know, we have whistleblowers on Pfizer. That's how we know they killed people in the trials and covered it up. I mean, I think the answer is just more whistleblowers.
That would be the answer. The problem is that we already know what the problem is, and the problem is goes back to this thing. Like I said, I was kind of digging into some Frank Serpico stuff today for some reason, and I found a quote of his that said, "A true measure of a society's greatness lies in how it treats its whistleblowers." And our society treats whistleblowers like they're the enemy. And the word whistleblower, I don't even like. Well, let's call it dissident. How do you treat your dissidents? How do you treat the people that call out the party or the group that is in power? And can they be safely, trusted to respect and say, okay, that's a really interesting point. You've made some statements that make us reevaluate our system, or do they just go, you're trying to upset the status quo, which is what whistleblowers do. It's what dissidents do. You're trying to upset it, and so you're the problem. In the FBI, that was my experience. In most federal government agencies, whether it be state, federal, or local, I've heard it from local cops.
So the biggest enemy is people that don't want to stick their heads up and follow orders. Let me raise this. Talking to this yesterday, Click, you were talking about your dad, the famous Waco reporter out of Fort Worth, I think it was. And I remember he was the big guy that we actually got the truth about him murdering the Davidians from pretty much in live time because for whatever reason they listened to his show or him and talked to him. It clicked this morning. I interviewed your dad like in 1997 or something on the phone. We should get him on. You were telling stories about your dad.
He still has a box in his garage that says "For the Davidian Children." It was stuff that was sent to the radio station. I mean, that's how far back my memory of this kind of stuff goes because I was a little kid. I remember my dad got pulled out of church.
Story, then what your take on that?
Okay. Yeah.
Then it just clicked when you were saying all of that. Well, anyways, finish point about your dad. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, he's still got a box. Like people went out there and they were sending things to the Davidian Children to the radio station. He used to be the vice president for operations and he ran KRLD 1080 in Dallas, Texas. And so he talked to David Koresh for, 20 hours on the phone. He was the go-between when the ATF screwed it up. And they ended up having the second in command, some guy named Steven something or other. He'd know the name. And he talked to this guy and then they put David Koresh on the phone. And David Koresh was talking about himself in the past tense and doing all this crazy stuff. And so it's like, I've seen screw ups. The funny thing is that I don't think the FBI was necessarily the bad guy in that story, at least not at the time. The ATF was the bad guy. The ATF shouldn't have even existed. They were doing all that stuff for publicity.
Sure, the ATF in some ways, it's very similar. And then the Delta Force.
They did the same thing at Ruby Ridge. They kicked off Ruby Ridge by looking for a freaking short shotgun for a guy who's a Green Beret, and at the end of the day, served this country honorably. And who cared if he had a shotgun out in the middle of the woods? It shouldn't have mattered. So a lot of this stuff, it's the same playbook again. And if people come up and people used to send my dad stuff saying that they were FBI agents and this is what they saw and this is where the investigation went sideways and he could never validate it. The question is, can you get actual honest transparency? Can we ever just own that there are some sins that our government is involved in? And it seems like they try to wait until it's so far in the past that nobody's ever going to be alive to actually deal with retribution. The measure of society being treating dissidents and whistleblowers well is that there needs to be actual accountability. And that's what people want to see.
I agree with you. So let's talk about what's going to happen.
People need to end up in handcuffs, period.
You were telling me about FBI agents, you were using examples that literally weren't dumb IQ-wise, but were so compartmentalized, they didn't know about huge things going on. And that's what I find. You've got a lot of the public super awake, and then but then you also got a lot of people that aren't even just crazy leftists. They just don't know anything. Does Todd Blanche know how hated he is? So I don't want to hate this guy. Does he know how arrogant he is?
You know what's funny though, Alex? He went out and did those press conferences, and he's savvy. I mean, let's give the devil his due. Where the man is bright, and he made some really, really important and intelligent points while he was doing this discussion about what was happening with these Epstein file releases. He said things like there are salacious allegations that come in through the tip line. And some of those things are what people were focusing on. These crazy statements. They would say Donald Trump, sacrificed a baby and buried him on the back nine of the golf course and all this other crazy shit. And then you're like, what is the source of this? Oh, it's a batshit crazy person who called into the FBI tips line out in West Virginia.
From a mental institution.
Said some stuff. Yeah, from anywhere. Doesn't matter where they're from. They could be living on the street or anything else.
Had been in mental institutions 5 times.
The FBI tip line gets more crazy than you've ever
buried the baby on a golf course that didn't exist till 5 years later.
This is why some of this stuff is not, and this is the brilliance of what I think the rollout was. They muddied the waters with all this crazy stuff. Even the story about Tom Massey, which has been he said he has 20 names. No, the victim said that they had some names, but the problem with the names are, take a 15-year-old rape victim, a 16-year-old rape victim, get their story, and then you'll find out that about 60% of it, maybe 30% of it is actually accurate. They saw a picture a couple years later and they're like, oh, that was the guy, but maybe that just looked like the guy. The real story should be, what did the investigators find when they did the work? And I keep coming back to this because all of the source information is interesting, and it's all like these are documents.
No,
and so
that's right. They
evidence,
never follow up
but
because
that's not
the
what the case
FBI
is.
went and talked to the guys. They probably would find some guilty ones. They might crack up and admit it. Now you got a case,
right? And then they would also find some exculpatory information and be like, oh, well, this is obviously inaccurate. Like this person made an accusation, but that person was actually in Singapore at the time, so it couldn't have been them. They got like somebody who looked the same.
Well, that's a problem. I was in Singapore signing this deal. Here's the con,
Exactly. And so sometimes you find those things. And so this is why like the list of the victims saying things is not relevant. That's why you don't want to have them just go out there and blanket accuse them. So Todd Blanche is really interesting. He's playing this game saying things that are obviously true, that there's some salacious bullshit that's in there that you can't do anything about, and that there's a lot of like wackos calling in and saying crazy things. But what they're distracting from while he's addressing this is like the emails that you just read that are clearly evidence of something bizarre, nefarious, and nobody has in their emails. Go look for beef jerky in your emails and your Gmail account, folks. Go search your text messages for references to pizza. And if it's not about you and your wife going to get pizza somewhere and your favorite pizza place,
but let's be clear, they describe it as glowing and eager to pleasure you.
There's none of that. It's not. That's not what people
going to
talk about.
Well, I mean, with the Podesta emails, it's like the 7, 9, and 11-year-old are ready to entertain you in the hot tub.
That's right. It needs to be sliced so thin because we only have one slice. That's not real. That's code, obviously. So
what about
$56,000
of hot dogs delivered to Obama's birthday party?
Oh, we know it. It's the worst.
Well, we know hot dog is gay prostitute. So we'll give it to Obama from all our intel. He's not a pedophile. He's a homosexual. We'll be right back. I didn't plug last hour because I've been so focused on the news. If I don't plug, we won't be here because I'm not funded by the Qataris or the Israelis or the Russians or the Jews or the Easter bunnies. I am funded by you. So I'm going to sell you products that really work so you want them. Now, we got two different flavors, Fruit Punch and in Freedom Mango. I didn't name this. It's it looks like a firecracker. It's a beautiful cover. Ultimate power. How about unlimited power? Emperor Palpatine. But it really is a pre-workout, post-workout, Turbo Force 2.0. I mean, this is seriously powerful, super high quality. Everything it does for your body is next level. Ignites mental clarity and focus, cleans, sustained energy, enhanced blood flow and endurance, supports daily cognitive function. L-citrulline converts to L-arginine. Don't know what that does. We got the best formula of it. It's amazing. L-theanine, relax, wake up, clarity and focus. Natural caffeine from coffee concentrated. Vitamin B12, the highest quality, B6, and more. This is really strong. If you love Turbo Force, you're going to love Ultimate Power. We should call it Unlimited Power. I've never Palpatine on the cover. The point is that it funds the operation. I said, hey, we need a clone of this product or make it better for their store. And they said, okay, this is what they came out with. I've been on them for a year to do this. It's really strong. Tiny little scoop. This thing, by the way, is heavy. This is like a whole bunch of servings, like a couple months worth. So get yours now. I like the Fruit Punch flavor. And by the way, today's one of the last days where you can get 60% off on Ultra Methylene Blue, Irish Sea Moss, Shilajit, and more at thealexjonesstore.com. Thanks for your support. Hour number 4 is straight ahead. You know, I know a lot of people tuning into this show, and I'm not kissing your ass, it's true. You're here because you really care. You're informed. You want to be more informed. And you really love humanity. You have a sense of empathy, and that's designed in healthy people because when we have empathy, they have empathy. It's a better society. And I've always cared about other people. But as I get older and have 4 children, hopefully grandchildren soon, Rex, you're 23, get married, get me some. Not that he has any problem with the ladies, but the point is that I look at the world and I look at how dangerous things are. And even if there was some other free countries I could go to, my roots are so deep here, I would go down with the ship. Except this ship is holding up Western civilization, as corrupt as it is. It falls, the rest falls, and all the war games show real dark ages. And that's, we do whole shows on that. And so I literally don't just think, well, hopefully it doesn't, I hear this, I hope it doesn't fall apart till after I'm dead. I've heard that so much in my life from people, I want to slap them. Like our forebears, on average, really cared. They had a sense, I'm not here long, I'm part of something bigger. And that's why I am tortured, folks. And I think you should be tortured too, and I think you are. Because some people are going to be mad that I'm mad at Trump. Others, most of you are like, no, we agree. but we got to be measured. We got to do it to put his feet to the fire. If it isn't perfect, we still criticize what's bad, but realize on the other side of Trump, the Democrats are just psychotically evil. But we can't end justify as a means and then say, fine, I'm just going to back Trump like cat turds, a great example. You know who he is on X. People on the radio are like, who's that? He criticizes Trump in any way. He just says, you should be put in prison, basically. So I'm not in a cult. And I'm not going to let the bad influences of Trump have full control of me just sitting back and whatever his administration does. We sit all the time, we get Trump to make the right decision. On this Epstein thing, though, he's dug in. And just tells people, shut the F up when they bring it up. So that's because he got convinced it was the new Russiagate, which it is for him, but it is the new Russiagate by you doing this. So, Kyle, you did some great analogies on the phone. We talked like an hour yesterday. I totally agree with your analysis that usually politicians are going for the moderates in the middle. That's not how it is now. The, quote, extremists are the majority. And I mean, we're not really extreme at left or right. It's an extreme now. They're extreme. We are normal human behavior by any yardstick studies show it. That now the paradigm is completely flipped. And Trump is playing by a 1990s rule. He is a 1990s Democrat. Okay, the Democrats.
He is.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that's not a mean thing to say. I actually think he's a little bit left of what the 1990s Democrats were, because he's okay with gay marriage and he's softer on abortion, where they were saying things like, safe, legal, and rare. There's some kind of conflict between him and Melania. But I think probably in private, Trump is probably not all that interested in the story of abortion. So this is the paradigm that I think that is crazy. And this is what you and I talked about yesterday, but it's also what I covered this morning on my podcast. I can't get over the idea that historically speaking, when you ran for election in the primary, you would always appeal to your base, which means if you were on the left, then you would say really wild left stuff. And if you were on the right, you would give all the staunch conservative talking points about God and guns and individual ruggedism and all this other kind of stuff, right? So that's where they would go. Smaller government, less taxes. On the left, you're doing the other thing. You're out there talking about how we need to solve the problem. We all need to come together. We all need to kick in. The rich need to pay their share. The collectivist type argument. And then for most of the last, let's call it 80 or 100 years, what people would do is they would tack towards the middle. They would try to appeal to the people that don't give a rat's, the regular people, the kind of the squishy middle of America, which is center left, center right. That's kind of where it sits. And so after things, and you'd say, well, we can find some common ground with our friends who are Democrats. And I always worked in a bipartisan way. And I was able to come together with my friends across the aisle and do this thing. And this is why we're successful. And this is how we're going to move America forward. And we're all going to get a little bit of what we want. And everyone goes, yeah. And then somebody wins. That was it. That was the model. And the difference that happened, I think, between 2016 all the way up into 2024, and we'll just leave 2020 out of it for now, because I don't trust what happened there, and I don't think a lot of people did either. So 2024, Donald Trump did something that nobody did before, because the political parties have moved so far to the left that the people that are representing the left, the left wing of American politics, the Democrats, are like, if they're not radical leftists, they are aspiring towards radical leftists. They are looking the direction of radical leftism. And so that wasn't appealing to people. That's not where the mass of America is. In fact, the mass of America, I think, based on talking to a lot of people and having lived in California, and I've lived in Texas and Kansas and Oklahoma and Florida and Connecticut and in Virginia, like I've been all over the place. And when I talk to regular people are not that much different than they were 30 years ago. And so when I talk about things that people are scared to say, or it's not politically correct, and you would get fired for saying it, it's the stuff that we said 30 years ago, like regular people would regularly talk about it. And so I don't think the middle of America has moved.
Real fast. Elon just put out the meme. I can't really describe it right, but he says, here I am a Democrat 10 years ago, but Democrats moved way left, so now I'm a Republican. But that's exactly what it is.
Well, and then that's an incomplete meme, because it keeps going, because the Republicans continue to move on. And so the regular person that just stood still from, let's say, 1996, they're still standing there. And now they are to the right of the Republican Party, and they are way to the right of the Democrat Party, which means the political parties are no longer representing a left and right sort of experience.
Yeah, there's the graph.
Yeah, and it says me, but like I think, isn't that it? That it's me is to the right of center. And I think that the center line has moved, and the parties have actually moved as well, so dramatically that there is no political right in America.
Republicans have gone more left too. It's not just the left.
They have gone so far. So here's where it got crazy, though. And Alex, in 2024, what Donald Trump did in the primary was he did the classic thing. You appeal to the base. And so he said all the MAGA stuff that made people really excited. And then when he got to the general election side, he cinched up the nomination, he continued to say those things and more, and they resonated with regular people, because the average American is to the right of the Republican Party. I do really, really strongly think. And those are the gettable voters. So this is why the midterms are such, like they're going to be a disaster. I think we could just look at it right now. And if something doesn't change dramatically, people are going to go, okay, I'm not on board for any of these people. So they'll just sit out. So it'll be leftists and people on the GOP.
3 months ago, I had Mark Mitchell on, probably one of the best pollsters in the world, very accurate. We did an hour interview explain this, that we want radicals, we want action. All the polls show we want rebels, we want outlaws. Trump, stop acting like you're the establishment, that you're still underdog. JD Vance sees it, calls him up there, says, oh, great interview. They meet with Trump 45 minutes, meet with him 3 hours. Susie Walls and people demonize her. I don't know if she's good or not, but I like Vance. They agree. Trump does a little bit of it, but it goes away. Exactly. They agree with that. But so Trump, exactly. And you don't look radical, you don't look rebel when you're covering up the Epstein stuff, which helps the Democrats.
That's right. No, I mean, people are going to they're going to opt out. The gettable voters are independents. They don't have MAGA in their bio on Facebook or on X or anywhere else. They don't go out and wear the red hat everywhere. The gettable voters are independents. And what they want to see is, can America basically do what Trump called it? Make America great again? When do people think America was pretty great? Because I have all these people that are younger than me. They go, people really seem to like the 1980s and 90s. Why is there so much nostalgia for that? And I'm like, well, America was prosperous. People thought America was the good guy. There are people that obviously knew a little bit more about stuff and some of the global interplay. But at the end of the day, the average person could buy a house.
Cold War,
Yeah, that's right. We were the good guys and we had just been victorious and we beat the evil empire and everyone thought that was a pretty good space to do. Did we have sins? Of course. Are there all kinds of like nuances to that? Yes, of course there are. But the general sentiment was, we're the good guys, we're winning. People like being on that team. And then what we see is this aspiration in 24 where Trump said, I'm not going to be like a regular conservative, which he's not. And I'm not going to be someone who just sort of like tries to conserve the thing that we have and lose slowly. He said he was going to gain some ground back. We had the expectation he was going to come in and do radical change.
And instead now we've gotten 8 press conferences about, I got the World Cup. Newsflash, Trump, no one gives a shit.
Nobody gives a shit at all. Like nobody cares. So here's it. Let me bang this off you real quick. You think about this idea. You remember the movie Dave?
Mm-hmm.
I made this point to my audience, and I got a bunch of comments back on it where people went like, "Oh yeah, the movie Dave was a story of essentially a Bill Clinton type character." Okay, and he was kind of scandalous, and he was sleeping around on his wife, and the president of the United States ends up sleeping with like some younger girl, has a stroke, and ends up in a coma. And they don't want to announce that he's dead because they don't want to lose the political power. So the political establishment goes and finds an impersonator of the president, and the guy's name is Dave. And Dave gets moved into the White House to pretend to be the president, and the first lady is Sigourney Weaver, and it's a kind of a romantic comedy, and it's kind of cutesy. But the redeeming part of it is that a regular guy with business sense who used to work at a temp agency and has friends who are accountants and do regular like Main Street level business gets to the White House, and what does he do? He starts acting like a normal human being. He says regular things. He knows that transparency means transparency. He wants his word to be his bond. He shakes hands and he means it. And then he wants to have a balanced budget and do things that sound really good to us. And so everybody thought that's what they were getting in Donald Trump. Maybe like a bigger version of it, maybe a larger than life version of it, because he was kind of cartoony and he was on WWE. But everybody thought they were getting The Apprentice and Dave all in one. Everyone was going to be fired that sucked, and we were going to get someone that understood business and what it meant to make $1 in America.
And I totally agree, but let me say this. That's the paradox and why I'm so pissed. Getting out of the carbon tax, the whole UN world agenda, Lord Mogden did great estimates, and it's accurate. 2 billion dead within 10 years actually did that, okay? Collapse of most civilization. Look at Germany, can't even make cars now. They've cut off most of their energy. People freeze to death in their homes. Securing the border, getting 20 trillion investment, 10 trillion already here. I mean, I can go on, securing the border, kicking men out of women's sports. It's all so good. He is doing great, except he has got constant CEOs, constantly just doing all.
He can't control the messaging, and he can't do the one thing that you got to do in sales, which is you underpromise and you overdeliver. You're like, look, we're bringing inflation down. I didn't create this problem, but I'm working on it, and here's how I think it's going to work, but we're going to have to tighten our belts for longer. When people came out, the whole idea of the fireside chat was talking people through the dark times, where you'd say, there are austerity measures. We were reckless and weak.
That famous speech when they just lost the battle of Dunkirk, and the British exterior force been driven in the ocean. He said, all I can promise you is pain and blood. But he goes, in the end, we're going to be free because it's better than being slaves. And so all I promise you is pain, but we won't surrender. And people like that.
People understand. So I think Milo Yiannopoulos told me this at one point in time. He said, nobody wants...
It's been a thing, but now it's over. Gotta go. See you a little bit later on it this evening. Check back in.